getting the microphone. This is so new still. I'd like to call to order the council meeting of September 20th. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Vice Mayor Tovar to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. And for an invocation, we have Malcolm McPhail. You keep saying it.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the privilege to the council and to be part of the local clergy that are here for the invocation on a regular basis. I also have the privilege of being a volunteer police chaplain here in Gilroy, and I appreciate representing the chaplains for the Gilroy police and fire departments as well. I wanted to just share a thought with you before I close in a brief prayer. In the ancient scriptures of the Jewish scriptures, a biography of one of their kings gives us an indication of what it means to lead a nation, lead a state, or lead an organization, or a city, or a church. And his name was King David. He was the king of Israel. And it is giving his biography at the very end of this biography that's listed in the scriptures. It says that David shepherded his people with integrity of heart, and with skillful hands he led them. And that would be my prayer for the city council members today that serve and reach out to our community, that we would be the kind of people, all of us who are in charge of organizations or teams, we would shepherd the people with integrity of heart and with skillful hands and lead them as leaders to that place of peace. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we bow our heads for just a moment, and we thank you for all that are here tonight, and we thank you for those, our city council members that are serving. We ask that you will give them wisdom, give them guidance, give them direction in all the decisions that are made for the good of Gilroy, and that, Lord, you would help them and help all of us be of skillful hands and of integrity of heart. I also pray for our first responders. And I thank you for our firefighters, and I thank you for our police officers, that you would keep them safe, that you would keep a guard over our city, and that you would bring everybody home safely at the end of the day. We ask all those things in your name. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. City Clerk's report on posting the agenda, and roll call, please.
Tonight's meeting agenda was posted on Wednesday, September 15 at 4:07 p.m. Councilmember Armendariz?
Present.
Councilmember Bracco?
Here.
Councilmember Hilton? Absent. Councilmember Luro Munoz?
Present.
Councilmember Marks?
Here.
Councilmember Tovar?
Here.
And Mayor Blankley?
Thank you. Okay, we are moving straight into interviews for our Youth Commission. We have 4 open seats with terms ending September 30th, 2023. Do we need to hear a staff report, or can I just get started? This is Youth Commission interviews. The agenda says staff report. Okay, we're just gonna get started. Okay, it also says public comment. Do I call public comment before the interviews?
Yes, I think you should.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to speak on this item?
I have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Closing public comment. Okay, so we're gonna start with interviewing, and I'm sorry we can't take more of you than one at a time, so why don't...
Sorry, I need to recuse myself. I have a conflict.
Okay. Okay, so then I'm just going to go in alphabetical order, if you all don't mind, and that's going to mean that I start with Miranda Flores. Is Miranda Flores here? No? Okay. Aiden Francis? Hi, Aiden. Yeah, just take a seat. Sorry, try to relax. I don't mean to make it sound so formal. Hi. Thank you for being here. Thank you for applying. I'm going to ask one general question, and then I'll just see if any council member wants to ask more. And pretty much what you wrote in your app, tell us a little bit like what you put in your application. Why do you want to be on the Youth Commission, and how do you think you'll be most effective?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Aiden Francis. I'm a sophomore at Archbishop Midi High School. Currently, I like playing soccer in my free time. I do a lot of extracurriculars. I play soccer for a club in Morgan Hill.
Can you bring the mic a little closer to you, or you can probably move the microphone if you don't want to move yourself. Yeah, just to make sure people can hear you.
Is this better?
Yes,
All right,
better.
thank you. Yeah. Would you like me to repeat, or?
That's okay.
All right. Yeah. One thing the reason I applied for the city council is I recently moved to Gilroy in about 2 years ago in December, and I realized that I wanted to be a part of this community more than I had been in my old community. I didn't really like participate in like the community itself. I just kind of walked around, went to the library sometimes, and I kind of just want to participate more, be a part of this community, get to know people, and help out where I can.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for stepping up and doing that. Those are very good reasons. Council, does anyone have a particular question that you'd like to ask? No? Okay, Aiden, thank you so much. Okay, and now Martin Fu. Is Martin Fu here? No. Okay. Diego Garcia. Hi, Diego. Thank you. Most of all, thank you for being here, all of you guys. You have no idea how much it means just that you're here. Thank you. You want to tell us a little bit about why you'd like to be on the Youth Commission?
My name is Diego Garcia. I'm 12 and I'm in the 7th grade. I would like to be on the Youth Commission because I would like to get to know my community better. I would like to get to know my community better, make a safer place for children, and learn more about our community.
Awesome reasons. Thank you. Council, any questions? Anything more specific you'd like, Diego? You're a very good speaker. Thank you. No? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree. We should have done that for the other one too. Yes, for Aiden too. Okay, Isaac. Is Isaac here? All right, Isaac. Thank you for applying, and like everyone else, go ahead and just tell us why you'd like to be on the commission.
Yeah, so my name is Isaac Huang. I'm 15 years old, and I'm a GECA Class of 2023 treasurer. And I applied to the Gilroy Youth Commission because I believe that I can help with a problem that I really see in this community, and that problem is the lack of adequate STEM educational infrastructure. So the reason why I see this is because Gilroy is part of the Bay Area and the Silicon Valley, the world's leading innovation and technology center. And consequently, many of the cities in the Silicon Valley have robust STEM educational infrastructure, something that I see is kind of lacking in our city. Wait, yeah, let me get this paper out.
That's fine. Would you like to tell everybody what STEM stands for, just in case some people don't know?
STEM stands for Science, Technology, Education, and Mathematics. And it's becoming increasingly important for students in our community, or students in general throughout the country, to be able to know about this, because more and more professional industries are steadily incorporating STEM into their industry, such as information technology. And yeah, so I look towards our neighboring city, Morgan Hill, which has a large and talented pool of students and teachers, which are dedicated to the vibrant STEM community, education community there. Something that I noticed that was kind of lacking in Gilroy. And yeah, I also noticed that they have a number of like organizations there such as the American Institute of Mathematics, a National Science Foundation-funded institute that interacts with that community. And I kind of want to see more organizations like that in our own community to benefit our own students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great, yeah. Hang on. Let me make, council, are there any questions before I let him go? No? Okay, gone. Okay, thank you. Lavander?
Hi, everyone.
Same question to you. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Lavender Huang. I'm 14 years old. And,
I mispronounced your name.
oh, it's, my name is Lavender Huang. I'm 14 years old and a sophomore at Christopher High School. I would like to be appointed to the Youth Commission because I want to help spread mental health awareness and solutions. So growing up, a lot of us are taught about, physical health. Are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? Are you exercising well? But there's a whole nother aspect of health that often goes uncovered, and that's mental health. There's a lot of stigma surrounding this topic that keeps a lot of people from discussing it in a mature, respectful way. And honestly, I feel like a lot of us don't even know what mental health is. What are these disorders? What are these illnesses?
That's okay, we got it. Yeah, that's very, very good. Mental health.
Yeah, thank you. We turn to the media a lot for information, but the media can be very misleading sometimes, and they often portray a very inaccurate depiction of what these illnesses are. Yet it's so important to be accurately educated because mental health is something that everyone has to be able to maintain throughout their entire life, especially a lot of people my age. We're at a time in our lives where we face a lot of stress. We're very prone to pressure from our peers, our parents, and even ourselves. So it's important for us to understand what we could be going through and to limit the possibility of these struggles from progressing because they can carry on into our adulthood and negatively impact our future. We should be able to spot symptoms in ourselves and in others and know when and who to reach out to help for if we need it. So I think one solution in particular would be to spread awareness directly through school. So last year, my freshman year, we had a PE unit where they brought in people who taught us about healthy relationships. They covered topics like different types of abuse and signs of unhealthy relationship. And I know topics like these are very sensitive for a lot of people, which is understandable. But oftentimes the result is nobody ends up talking about them at all. Yet they're so important to know because you never know when they could be applied to your own life. I think we should implement another similar program because that focuses on mental health in particular because the majority of our youth have direct access to school. I think another solution would be to bring more recreational and volunteer opportunities to Gilroy targeted for the youth because participation in these activities have been shown to build self-esteem, to reduce anxiety and depression, and especially at our age, a lot of our mental struggles stem from a lack of self-confidence. So if there's a way to build that confidence, to instill that self-esteem, self-worth at a young age and in a healthy community environment, it could help us to realize that, we are important, we can contribute to something, we are a part of something, which I think at the end of the day is something everyone should be able to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, Ezekiel. Hi, welcome. Thank you. Like I'm telling everyone, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to, go ahead and just say a few words about why you'd like to be on the commission, what you think you'll bring.
I'm Ezekiel Lopez. I'm a sophomore at Christopher High School. And there's one main focus that I think is often ignored when talking about helping the youth, and that's the publicity of the resources that are available to them. I asked my friends just the other day if they knew what resources they could access besides the on-campus assistance, if they needed help academically or emotionally, and they couldn't name more than 2 or 3. And I know a lot of decisions the commission makes help the youth in many ways, but publicity is often ignored. That would be my main focus.
Okay, thank you. Anybody? All right, yeah. We struggle with that too here on the council. Publicity. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Alexis. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name's Alexis, or Lexi Miller, whatever you want to call me. I'm currently a junior at Gilroy High School. I'm 16 years old. And at Gilroy High School, I'm a cheerleader. Go Mustangs. I'm currently in CSF, the California Scholarship Federation. And I was involved in ASB freshman year. I'm also in the Principles of Biomedical Science program, where we learn about science and biotech. And yeah, so the reason why I want to be on the board is because I think I'm very qualified to be on the board. I've been a lifeguard this summer, and not only have I interacted with community members, but I've also learned to quite literally save lives. By being on this board, I would be able to be like voice for my peers. Often, people my age aren't able to have a voice in the community because of our age, which is a sad thing. But by being on this board, I would be able to be a voice for my peers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everyone's clapping. Okay, and lastly, we have Navidli. Am I saying that right, or is that person here? I have a D in my, yes? Feel free to pronounce your own name so I don't butcher it. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Navali Savala, and I'm an 8th grader in South Valley Middle School.
Okay.
I want to be a youth commissioner because I feel like there's been a lot of fights going on in my school, and I feel like we should add more extracurricular activities during lunch so that we could all be busy with something else than causing fights in our school.
That's fine. That's fine. We thank you for being here. Does anyone have anything that I'm not asking that is a burning question? Okay, then thank you. I want to thank you. Guys are the pride of Gilroy, all of you, really. Okay. Were you already up here speaking? Yeah. Is it something you want to tell the city clerk, or what is it you wanting to add something to your interview? Yeah. I don't think I want to. It's because then I would have to offer that to everybody. It's the only reason. But you're certainly welcome to send that in to the city clerk so that we all hear it. Oh, is that okay? Okay. Yeah, I do. Really, you are the pride of Gilroy. I want to make sure that is very clear. Thank you for coming. And what a great opportunity for a full house to get to hear what we get to hear when it's youth commission interviews. This is what it is, and sometimes even more. They're awesome. So thank you all. Okay. One more time. Okay, moving on. So thank you all. We're at our next meeting is when we'll write. And to all of you, you can all send in anything you want to say to the city clerk. Okay, orders of the day. Is there anything anybody wants to move around? Okay, employee introductions. My understanding is maybe one, okay, or maybe some. Leanne.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and members of the Gilroy community. Tonight, I'm pleased to introduce to you Valentin Lazzaro. Valentin started work with the City of Gilroy on September 13th as an equipment mechanic in the Fleet Division of the Administrative Services Department. Valentin will be focusing his time on ensuring proper functionality of all city vehicles and equipment. Valentin has worked for FedEx Freight for over 20 years and has held senior-level automotive technician roles. Possessing a certificate as a master medium and heavy truck technician from Automotive Service of Excellence, Valentin is known as a wizard with tools. He's fully competent in routine and complex repairs, diagnostics, preventive maintenance on a variety of automotive and specialized vehicles and equipment. So you now know why we hired him. Mm-hmm. His skills and abilities expand into electrical circuits, fuel systems, air brakes, and hydraulic systems. His skills will bring added value to our fleet shop. Outside of the fleet shop, Valentin is a sports fanatic and enjoys soccer, wrestling, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Valentin is a resident of Gilroy, and he and his family enjoy the Gilroy community, and he is very excited to work for this community and shorten his commute. Please join me in welcoming Valentin Lazzaro to the City of Gilroy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valentin Lazzaro, as she mentioned. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve the Gilroy community. And I'm going to give a special thank you to Leanne, Mike, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this team, and the confidence that they have on me on my technical and mechanical abilities. And thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, ceremonial items. We have none, correct? Okay, none. Presentations to the council. Okay, this is time for public comment by members of the public on items not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes apiece. If you have something you wish to say, you need to fill out a yellow card and hand it to the city clerk. And we will go on. Okay.
Currently, we have 20 public comments not on the agenda. First is Vanessa Ashford.
Okay. And you'll have a timer going, yes. And depending on how long this goes, folks, I may end up having to cut it down to 2 minutes each. We'll just have to see. Okay? Maybe you could announce who the next one is so that they're ready.
Hazel Quintero
up
is
at the
next.
podium here. Sorry. That was just Youth Commission interviews. Sorry.
So I wanted to comment on the time capsule. Actually, my issue or comment is not specific to the capsule itself, rather that the City of Gilroy and the City Council would be best suited to work on an inclusionary policy so that we could prevent this in the future. I feel that the artist did a great job with the direction she was given, but we as a community lacked the insight to have an inclusionary policy to include all community members to be represented. And I feel that it was unfair that a council member had to speak up on behalf of every other race and sex that is not represented, women included. And that's all I'll say about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's not, I'm going to ask that we not clap. Thank you. Just to keep things peaceful.
Hazel Quintero.
Okay, I can't hear from there. Whoever was called to speak is who should be here at the podium. Do you have a card for each one of these people she's talking about?
I have Hazel.
Okay.
Isabela Santos. Marty Estrada. Javier Garcia. Robert Weaver. Karen Lacorte. Linda Polido.
Yeah, these are not, okay, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to have whoever's card is there, when the person's name is announced, they come up and speak. Okay? That's how we're going to do it. Then you pass it to them. Then you can pass it to them. I'm sorry. However you want to organize yourselves. We are in a meeting, and we're moving on with people who have filled out a card. Okay. So the next speaker is?
Hazel Quintero.
Okay, thank you. And then if the next speaker could please, kind of line up behind them so we can move a little faster, since we know that we have a lot of speakers, it would be most efficient to please, we want to hear everybody. Okay, and the timer? Thank you.
Hello. We are people of all genders of Olom, Black, Filipino, Portuguese, Mexican, Chicano, Chinese, and Japanese heritage. We have grown prunes, sugar beets, tobacco, apricots, tomatoes, chili peppers, onion, corn, cucumbers, you name it. In 2020, 43 different languages were spoken in family homes, students in elementary schools. Many of our non-white families have been in Gilroy for up to 14 generations, yet we are not included of the arts or contents of the time capsule created to commemorate the Sesquicentennial anniversary of Gilroy. Carol Peters is a respected and talented local artist with deep roots in the community and a personal history of working with students of all backgrounds in our schools. However, although the artist was directed to give the residents in 2070 a feel of what Gilroy was supposed to feel like in 2020, the capsule is disturbingly devoid of ethnic diversities. It does not feel like to us as an accurate depiction of our community. Sorry.
You're fine.
Through the lens of this artwork, it would seem as Gilroy is a place populated entirely by Italian Americans and white cowboys with the garlic as the only crop. Where are the people who plant and harvest and process that garlic? Why is there no reflection of our rich and diverse cultures? The generations of hard-working families employed in our canneries and fields, or the trailblazing women of our community who have made the history as well. In fact, there is no depiction of women at all. Where are our veterans, grandfathers, fathers, brothers, and sons in every war who gave their lives to this freedom? This is not the Gilroy we know and love, nor does it include the people that we see every day and count among our neighbors, friends, co-workers, and family members.
Okay, are you changing speakers? Okay, and you have a card?
Isabella Santos.
Okay, go ahead.
Everybody, this is not the Gary that we know and love, nor does this include the people that we see every day and count among our neighbors, friends, co-workers, and family members. Without farm workers, cannery workers, artists, musicians, restaurateurs, farmers, beauticians, mechanics, butchers, dairy farmers, vaqueros, veterans, or trailblazers, it would not be Gilroy at all. Are we invisible? People of color have not only harvested the crops, but contributed to every sector and industry, providing Gilroy with the economic growth and development that created the community that we know and thrive in today. Those of us who grew up here, stayed and raised our children here, built our professional lives here, volunteered and contributed to the diverse beauty of our festivals, community events, and civic organizations are missing from the lens. We continue to contribute, and yet we are forgotten. We are disappointed and hurt that our neighbors and friends of this community do not see us. As a Sesquicentennial community, we was choosing a newspaper article to teach future generations about the COVID-19 pandemic. The people who are not represented in the capsule, essential workers, largely people of color, were risking their lives day in and day out to plant, pick, process, deliver, stock, sell, and serve the food and essential items we all relied on. To staff of the hospital, to care for our elders, to clean and sanitize workplaces and homes to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next?
Marty Estrada.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple comments about the capsule that was devised by the City Council. The capsule 2070, a feel for Gilroy for 1920.
Sorry, I just need to make a correction. The capsule is not devised by the City Council. It was a group of volunteers that presented the council with a gift that was supposed to have been to the prior council, but because of COVID was now. So I just want to make that
But you
clear.
approved it.
No,
No?
it's
Okay.
not an approval
Okay,
thing
my
at all,
mistake.
which may
So-
be why the first person's comments are the way we are going to go.
Okay, let me continue, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
The capsule, it's void of ethnic diversity, number one. Number two, it's not accurate depiction of our community, number two. Number three, it's a gross misrepresentation of hardworking, diverse people of Gilroy. Number four, it must reflect diversity of women, Native Americans, blacks, Filipinos, Chicano, Mexicano, Chinese, and Japanese. We strongly urge the City Council to reconvene the Sesquicentennial Celebration Committee to recreate the time capsule that is a true representation and reflects the character and culture diversity of all people of Gilroy of 2020. You know, I just want to close with this. You know, this month is September 9th. There was a time capsule that was opened as they were removing Robert Lee's statue in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. And it had buttons in there. It had Confederate buttons, and it had a newspaper dated 1887. And it had a photo of President Lincoln's funeral in this capsule. What did that represent? What did it say? Well, you can use your imagination to see what it said. But what I'm saying here today is that we need to be a community that speaks to the community in diversity of people, not just one side, not one piece of a particular ethnic group, but inclusive with all folks in the community. We really need to address that. We ask this council to reconvene this committee to review and add all these other folks that are excluded from this capsule. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next, Javier Garcia.
This also has to do with the time capsule. Although the committee was appointed by the previous mayor, the time
Can you put the microphone a little closer, just if you want us to hear you?
Although the committee was appointed by the previous mayor, the time capsule created with private funds, the choice to display the time capsule in Gilroy City Hall makes it public concern and implies the City of Gilroy endorsement. It is therefore incumbent upon the City of Gilroy to take responsibility for this misrepresentation of hardworking and diverse people of Gilroy, and to take action to honor all the Gilroyans with full inclusion in the story of our shared history. The time to retire the myth of an all-white Gilroy is now, just as the time to exclude women alone, Black, Filipino, Portuguese, Chicano, Mexicano, Chinese, and Japanese people has long since passed. We ask the current City Council represent the Celebration Committee reconvene the additional members that represent and reflects the beauty or the beautiful and diverse profile of our community that can advocate for a complete and inclusive telling of our story, that will work with the talented artists to create art that is truly reflective of the character, cultural, and diversity of all the people in Gilroy in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next, we have Robert Weaver.
Is there another speaker on that same letter thing? No. That's all? Okay. That was the whole letter. Okay. Go ahead, Bob. Sorry, I just saw someone else standing behind you and wondered if that was the same thing. Okay.
I'm Bob Weaver. Back in early of 2019, then Mayor Roland Velasco assembled a group of people, all volunteers, to work on a committee. It was an ad hoc committee. He said, we're having our Sesquicentennial celebration next year. We want you to design an architecture and execute those ideas for the people of Gilroy. One of the things that came out of our deliberations was a time capsule. I said, okay, let's have a time capsule. They said, Bob, you've got the job. I got it done. We sized it up. We decided how big it should be. Lindsay Hack volunteered her husband, Louis. He fabricated that vessel back there. Then when it was done, I took it over to Carol's studio and dropped it off. She provided us with 4 sketches. Those sketches were photographed and sent to Amanda Rudine, our overall committee chair, Toby Echeverry, our city historian, and longtime Gilroy Historical Society president, Connie Rogers. The next day, we got 4 approvals. I let Carol know. She had the 4 thumbs up and a green light. She executed her concepts beautifully and masterfully, as she has always done for this community. It's back there in the corner. Over the years, Carol has been a daughter of Gilroy, truly, devoting her time and talent to this community through things at the museum, with signage, through books and illustrations. After the tragedy at the Garlic Festival, she went downtown on Monterey Street and helped people work through their grief by art therapy, by painting rocks. This is the kind of woman she is. And it hurts me deeply when she is assaulted from the dais under color of authority. That is totally wrong. It hurts me, and by extension, it hurts the whole committee of volunteers who gave up 30 months from beginning to end to bring this work of art to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Again, I'm going to ask that we not do the applause just because it's going to go both ways. Okay, next speaker.
Karen Lacorte.
Madam Mayor Blankley, City Council members, city staff, and fellow citizens, I am Karen Lacorte. After the negative and hurtful comments made last Monday night towards artist Carol Peters and the 150th Committee, I was disappointed. I hate that Carol feels the need to stand up here and defend her art. Somehow, there was a breakdown in communication here. But I think it's important that we all try to learn from this and promise to do better moving forward. This is an opportunity for Council and Ms. Armendariz to look at this as a lesson in civility, diplomacy, protocol, and government etiquette. I would hope that Carol receives an apology from Ms. Armendariz as she procured exactly what was asked of her. And the committee, made up of volunteers, private citizens, needs one too, as they worked for over 2 years on this celebration through a pandemic and leadership change. This was gift-giving night, a joyous and celebratory occasion. In the past, when gifting an item such as the time capsule to city from private citizens, not an official city commissioned piece, Council graciously and respectfully accepted the gift. An example was several years ago when Carol painted a portrait of our first female mayor, Roberta Hewen, which was also gifted to the city during a council meeting. I was on the Arts and Culture Commission for 8 years, serving as chair for many. I am very aware of city protocol. I'm disappointed Ms. Armendariz did not gather the facts prior to her negative comments. She should have waited until after the meeting to express her concerns to the city administrator, who would have then in turn have asked city staff for clarification, which then would have been communicated back to Ms. Armendariz. Protocol and communication. When I think of the art on the time capsule, I think of a magazine cover, a cover that sparks your curiosity about what's inside. The inside tells a more inclusive and complex story. We hold city council members to the highest level of integrity. Effective leaders are kind, gracious, and respectful, who follow the rules of government etiquette, which is about building relationships, plain and simple. Our country is going through a divide right now. Let's not let our city do the same. There's a time and a place to be vocal about your beliefs. We can all do better at communication and unification. Words are powerful. It has been said that you may not remember everything someone says about you, but you will always remember how they made you feel. You have an opportunity to make this right. Thank you.
Thank you. That would be for me, whoever said that. Okay. Yes, that's correct. Okay, I don't appreciate talking out from the audience. That's not called for. Who is our next speaker?
Linda Pulido.
Yes.
You know, I think everybody knows who I am. I don't need a piece of paper up here. I'm going to speak from the heart. First of all, I am disappointed. I am a Latina. I'm disappointed because I feel like something was scratched and shouldn't have been scratched. The world right now is a terrible place out there, and I feel like it's been now brought to Gilroy, which is horrible because I love this town. I teach students, I work with people, I work with adults and young children and teach them about respect and discipline and just being loving and kind. And this division should not be in our town at all. And this is what hurts me because I worked so hard for years to try to teach my students, the people that I work with, to love all. I had the opportunity to be taught, to be motivated and inspired by a great artist a long time ago because I'm an artist myself. And she, Carol Peters, pushed me to continue. Not only am I a martial artist, but I'm also still doing my art. And she taught me to look beyond what's on the canvas in front. It's not just paint. What are they really trying to say? What's inside? Just like the time capsule, I look at it and I go, wow, I don't need my mug on there. I have been there. I've been to the Garlic Festival. I know everybody here's been there. There's a lot of different people here. We all get together, we celebrate, we drink, we eat, and we all stink afterwards. And everybody comes from all over the world, and we celebrate, and we don't have a division. And thank you to Carol. She made me realize that. And when I see an art piece, I don't just see paint. I see beyond that. I'm from Gilroy. I see me in there. I've been everywhere. And I see my parents, my grandparents. I see everybody. And I think that's what artwork is, and that's how you appreciate it. Thank you very much for letting me and teaching me to look beyond that. And I feel that that's how people are. You don't look at the surface. Look beyond. I think we all need to be united, not divided.
Thank you. Thank you for not, yeah, I'd love to clap too on some of these, but thank you. Okay, next.
Next is Carol Peters.
Okay, now Carol, I'm going to, if she goes over 3 minutes, I'm going to allow it, and I'm saying it now, and these are my decisions to make. Thank you. Okay, because I'm the mayor. Okay, I preside. I'm the mayor, and Gilroy City Code Section 2.17. Okay, on this subject. Okay, can we get people out of the room if we need to?
I never thought
Yeah.
this piece of art would cause any controversy, and it breaks my heart, actually. Mayor Blankley, city council members, city staff, fellow citizens, my name is Carol Peters, and I painted the gift, the time capsule. What to paint on the 4 sides is a daunting task. My first thought was paint our rich diversity, portraying famous singers, musicians, politicians, and sports figures from Gilroy. Ivy Anderson, John Garcia, Ascension Sor Lozano, Roberta Hewen, Sig Sanchez, George Milius, H.K. Sakata of the Gilroy Yamato Hot Springs. Famous athletes like Jeff Garcia, Frank Lacorte, Robert Guerrero, Linda Polito, Chris Jimenez, way more people than I can possibly mention here tonight. It was mind-boggling. Then I thought, what is the reason for the capsule? Celebrating 150 years, bringing all people of Gilroy together, all the diverse cultures and ages. And where do we celebrate? The Garlic Festival, the wineries, the rodeo, Gilroy Gardens. I drew from personal experience, having lived through just about everything. I looked up the history of Gilroy on Wikipedia, and there was a picture of Old City Hall, a paragraph about John Gilroy, who became a naturalized Mexican citizen, taking the name Juan Bautista Gilroy, and much of what I had decided to paint. I felt my choices were validated. Now I needed to create a 3-dimensional art piece that had visual impact. Because the design needed to go through an approval process, I gave Bob Weaver a pencil rendering of the images and written reasons for selecting the subject matter. I waited, finally got the approval, and the painting was completed. Bob notified me that the time capsule was to be gifted and unveiled at the city council and asked me to attend. Previously, my logo design for the 150 years had been chosen in a contest for city use. The city council was to recognize me at a council meeting. Former Mayor Roland Velasco called and asked me to attend, but unfortunately I was in the hospital having been diagnosed with cancer and could not be there. Now I was healthy and excited, able to attend the council meeting in person to reveal another component, the gift of the time capsule. After the unveiling, the only comment was one that challenged why the design did not show diversity. I felt it was directed at me. I appreciate everyone's opinions and would have gladly incorporated suggestions into the design prior to painting. Now the work was finished, completed, and was being gifted. I have taught since I was 22 years old. recently at the Family Resource Centers for First Five, 30 years at Gilroy High, teaching at the University of Santa Clara. No matter what age level, I always wanted my students to feel worthy, appreciated, and able to learn in a safe environment. If they were out of line, I spoke to them privately or went through proper protocol to make change. They were in a safe place, safe to express themselves verbally and artistically, safe from negative criticism, safe to share ideas, safe to follow their creative hearts, and know that their work at any level would be viewed and critiqued with respect, not only evaluating their artistic ability, but recognizing their diversity, individual ideas, and personal motivation. After the comment, I did not feel good. I felt I had let the city, the committee, and everyone down. I felt very sad and confused. Why hadn't I had criteria prior to painting? Why was this criticism coming after the fact? For the first time in council chambers, I felt uncomfortable about policy and protocol. For the first time in council chambers, I did not feel I was in a safe place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, next.
Next, we have Valentin Lopez.
Valentin Lopez. How many more do we have, Christina? Sorry.
About 15.
15 more? I thought we had 20. There's been more than 5.
It increased to 25.
Okay, so can you put the time at 2 minutes each? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Valentin Lopez. I'm the chairman of the Ama Mutsun Tribal Band, and our tribe is comprised of the descendants of the indigenous peoples that were taken to missions San Juan Bautista and Mission Santa Cruz. Our people have been on these lands for 20,000 years or more. If you think of that in terms of generations, we've been here for 1,000 generations or more. Gilroy to our people is known as Kululistak, the place of the elbow, and there's an important story that goes there. No one in this room has known that. Nobody in this room has ever heard that. This area, the greater Monterey Bay, inland to this area here, was the most populated area of indigenous people north of Mexico City. North of Mexico City in North America. That includes any other state, all of the rest of Mexico, all of Canada. The most populated area was right here. Thousands and thousands of indigenous people lived here because of the resources and the climate, etc. Then came that brutal period of the missions and the Spanish. Then came the period of the Mexican period. Then came the period of the California American period. What happened during that period of time was genocide. On all three eras, genocide. Genocide occurred here in Gilroy. And not only that, there were efforts to destroy our spirituality, destroy our culture, destroy our environments, destroy our indigenous knowledge. At the turn of the century in 1900, our population has been reduced by 98, possibly 99% or more. What happened to these people? Why isn't that story ever told? I doubt very much that any student or even any adult or any senior citizen here, when you were taking history, California history in school, that you learned about that. What happened? We were ignored, we were forgotten, and we were erased from history. That's why I'm speaking here tonight. Carol, I'm sorry what happened to you. I don't blame you one bit. If you're given directions, you follow directions, you put your heart into it, I love that. I respect that. Thank you. At the same time, the people that gave those directions, they need to understand that this is an important project, and all people need to get included. Carol was right. I'm sorry, I did forget your last name, but I call you Mrs. respectfully, so I do apologize for that. But we need to recognize that people cannot be ignored. People cannot be forgotten or erased. They must be included. And that includes the Amamutsin, our tribe. We've been on this territory for 12, 15, thousands and thousands of years and generations.
Thank you.
Ascension Solorzano, she left over 78,000 pages of anthropological field notes with the Smithsonian Institute. Why isn't her history taught? Why isn't she remembered?
Sir, you're over the 3 minutes, okay?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's okay. It's fine.
But
I'm just asking you to please
I'm
wrap
asking
up
the
because
city
we
council
have
to please
15.
recognize
Got it.
the Amamutsin.
Thank you.
You can have my phone number, you can have my email,
Thank
you can
you.
have my postage, my post office. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are you able
Next
to
is
cut?
Amanda Rudin. Amanda Rudin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Back a little sooner than planned. But I thought it was important for me to make the long trip back down to clarify some information about this project. So I am the chair, Gilroy 150. Former Mayor Roland Velasco asked various members of the community if they would volunteer their time with the help of celebrating Gilroy's Sesquicentennial. This was in no official capacity by any means. Council wasn't even aware. This was something that was strictly asked by the mayor. We are not an official city committee, nor was there any involvement from the council. We were not compensated in any way. It was purely a group who wanted to celebrate Gilroy's 150th birthday. The time capsule is just a gift from the group. That's all, no more, no less. It's just a gift. The box itself was graciously donated, as well as Carol's artwork. There was no direction given to the artist, as we had full confidence she'd produce something beautiful, which she has. I'm a relative newcomer, or was a relative newcomer to Gilroy. So throughout my involvement with the 150 group, I learned who Carol Peters is and the impact she has had on the city and the long history she's had. She has touched many lives and truly a part of Gilroy's history. I could not think of anyone more appropriate to leave a lasting piece of her art for future Gilroyans. She has really turned a simple box into a piece of art that will last forever. This would have been completed under the former council and under the former mayor. This was something that was supposed to be completed at the end of last year. But as with most things, coronavirus had put the brakes on everything. This was the first in-person council meeting that we could finally present this. It was not meant to offend anybody. It was a gift. That's all it was. I know that public comment is not Q&A, and so most of you know me quite well, and if you have any questions, you have my contact information. I'm happy to answer any questions before it turns into something more. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a clarifying question.
This is public comment.
Right,
This is public comment.
Right, but you made a comment to clarify something after our first speaker. So I want to ask something because one of our speakers mentioned that this was an ad hoc committee.
Okay.
But other speakers have since said that the former mayor brought this together. So if Jimmy or Andy could speak, what was it? And
Okay, we'll get that clarification. This is not on the agenda, so we can't have this discussion. This is just public comment.
Right.
So you are welcome to get that answer, and maybe we could all use it, but not here.
Clarification.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next speaker.
Next is Linda Piseño.
And you're giving everybody still 3 minutes? Okay, what about the ones that came after I announced? We started with 20 and somehow it grew. So I would like that to be cut down to the ones that came after because I made that announcement that I'd be cutting it down.
Correct, but I'm unable to.
Oh, you're unable to move the
adjustment
timer. Oh, I can do that then. Are we on those? Are we on the ones that were not originally submitted?
No, not yet. We're not
Okay, go ahead, Linda, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to, you know what I'm trying to do. You do this
I
too.
truly understand. Thank you. Tonight, the word disappointed has been used often, and I too am disappointed. I understand that there was a communication issue. I understand looking at this box, it is beautiful. It is an incredible work of art. However, it's not something that I personally would like to see displayed in the city of Gilroy as a representation of Gilroy in 2020. We started this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, where it says, "One nation, with liberty and justice for all." That's a piece I think we have to continue to remember. Lavender mentioned that kids and everybody like to belong and be part of something. It was mentioned, you will forget what people say, but you will always remember how they made you feel. Last week, when I heard about this, I felt invisible. And as a Latina and as a woman, that's how I felt, and unrepresented. So I hope that this box is not displayed as Gilroy in 2020, because images are incredibly important. No one is going to look inside that box. They will see the outside, and we are missing. We are invisible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think I really would appreciate not clapping. I've asked that a few times. Thank you.
Next, we have Kathy Chavez Napoli.
Here, I'll take them down later.
And this is still the original 20?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd like to have you pass these around. I think they're really important to the council to see. And I'm really happy that you have the young people here.
You need to wait till you get to the microphone to speak, because otherwise it's not for...
You're already counting me though, so
Right,
why does it
because you're
matter?
talking already, so that's why it started.
Well then, my name is Kathy Chavez Napoli. I'm a property owner here in Gilroy. I'm a business owner, and I'm an educator. But most importantly, I'm a Native American. I'm from a federally recognized tribe, and I'm showing you this picture of this little girl who is probably about 10 or 12. We saw these young people here saying that they want to be involved. This little girl was sold for a pound of gunpowder and a bottle of whiskey, because then that's what happened. Sadly, it's still happening today. The reason I'm here is to speak about how people feel, and I share the same concerns about art, and I'm sorry that Carol felt so upset, but art is controversial. I will remind you that the Fallon statue that was put up 40 years ago is coming down. When you only decide to put 150 years of your history there, then you're doing everyone a disservice. Native Americans have been in this valley for thousands and 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 thousands of years. I teach third graders something, and I hope you will join me so that you can really learn. They understand this concept. Start with your hand on the top of your head. Go along the side of your face. Go all the way around to the end of your longest finger. And that's how long Native Americans have been here. Europeans have only been here for this little fingernail, 252 years. Yet you focus your attention on 150 years. You do everyone a disservice when you do that. Native Americans were raped, they were sold, they were enslaved, and they were murdered. So, though that is a beautiful box, it is more important to be inclusive, more important, especially during these times when we want to be unified. I was at the Gilroy Garlic Festival when those shots went out. I was giving my time there. We don't need division, we need unity. And one of the things I would ask you, Mayor,
is to show respect for our chairman, Val Lopez. He represents the people who've been here and survived. Maybe you wonder why so many people have Spanish last names. Well, in 1850, Peter Burnett had a bounty out on Native Americans. He would pay 25 cents up to $5 to show the proof of a dead Indian. That is outrageous, but that should be told, because our young people see that in the world today and they need to know about that.
Thank you.
And each of you has the title honorable. Will you be honorable today? Will you not make us invisible? Will you not commit genocide of culture, language, and tradition? Because if you do not become inclusive, you are just as guilty as those people who killed us. You are killing our culture, our traditions, our language. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Next, we have Raimundo Armendaris.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I originally had also written something up, but somebody mentioned earlier it's probably better just to speak from the heart. I also am very inspired by the young people, all the young people who showed up today, even those who are not speaking on this particular topic. But just to build on what the woman who was here speaking earlier and really inspired me, was it is true, absolutely, that for one thing, what's more important, and I really also feel very badly for the artist Carol Peters. She did do a beautiful job, and she was just following instructions, and I also don't want her to feel bad because it's really not a critique of her. This is absolutely a critique of the idea that we are not included. Growing up, my family's been here since 1921. We've been here multiple generations in Gilroy. And it's really concerning to me that here in 2021, 53 years after the Civil Rights Movement, that nobody is acknowledging the people of color, black, brown, native, Asian, that I grew up seeing here serving Gilroy, volunteering in Gilroy, leading in Gilroy. So the box is beautiful, but what's more important than that art is also to include in art in general, not just for this particular piece, but for all pieces that represent this city. We should always have people of color included, because we do lead, we do contribute, we always have. Just wanted to acknowledge that, and thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Michelle Wexler.
Don't tell nobody.
Okay. So may I start? I need to cut this down. It's after 7 o'clock, and we still have quite a few more speakers, correct?
Correct.
How many?
10.
10, yeah. So, Michelle, I'm going to start with you. I hope you don't mind. I mean, there's a lot's already been said. I can't imagine that there's a lot of new information. So I'm going to start with 2 minutes, and then I'm going to try to go down to 1 after the next 5. Okay?
That's okay. So thank you. So I just want to acknowledge and thank all the previous speakers who so eloquently, spoke this evening. What I'm here to say is I'm coming before you to request that the Gilroy City Council consider developing an equity and inclusion policy. There are many advantages to such a policy that we as a community could benefit from. And there's lots of examples of policies that could be looked at for reference. Oakland created an ordinance in 2015 to support equity implementation. In Tacoma, the City Council adopted an equity and empowerment initiative through a resolution. In Dane County, the Board of Supervisors commissioned a review of government programs, operations, and policies through an equity lens. And the list goes on and on. Many cities have adopted equity policies, and there's a lot of information to support that. These are just a few examples that have been adopted. The Parks and Recreation Commission, which I chair, has actually prioritized addressing equity related to parks and recreation programming in our work plan. So that's something that Gilroy citizens are interested in doing. We as a community should work together to develop an equity and inclusion policy and celebrate our diversity. Thank you for considering this for a future City Council agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Casey Adams.
Go.
Good evening. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I'm not here so much about the art. I'm here about the person. If I could say something about Gilroy, I've been here. I'm 60 years old. I got here when I was like 9. I got here as an abused child beaten, tore up, abused, molested, and just didn't know where I was supposed to be. I was they awarded me to the children's home, the IOOF here, and that's where I grew up. I got here not knowing anything about who I was or what color I was. None of my background, none of that stuff. But that lady right there, because I'm slick trying to take first period art so I can sleep in, but my art teacher, which is her, set me down the first day of school because I was just lost. I was a black kid that got dropped off in white Gilroy. And there was nobody that looked like me, nobody act like me, nobody talked like me. And she knew it. She knew it the second she seen me. Came to me, told me, what do you need? How can I do? How can I help? I said, I don't know nobody. I've never been around a whole bunch of white people in my life. And she says, well, I think there's one black family that lives on the other side of town, but I don't know many either. But I'm going to help you find your identity. I'm going to help you find your culture. I'm going to let you know what you are. I'm going to find some books for you to read, and if you need to take a ride to go back up to Oakland or wherever you came from, I'll take you there if that's going to make you feel like you got something that you need or something that's important to you. And I'm 60 years old. That lady been doing this since that day. It hasn't stopped.
Thank you.
I have now worked with abused kids. Ain't none of them white either. I got all the Filipinos, all the Mexican, all the at-risk kids. I run a program now that saves lives. That's my business. I save lives. But the only reason that I know that is because somebody put my culture in me that happened to be not my color. So I'm not here about the art and the box and all that stuff, but I can tell you when I look at Carol Peters, I look at the box. Not the box, I look at the heart, what's in the box. That person right there probably did everything out of her heart. And I just want you to know, if somebody hurt you, they hurt me. And we all behind you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You were in high school with me. I was the nobody there. Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Guadalupe Arellano.
Can you announce the next speaker too so that they can be ready in position?
Tina Chaveria.
Okay, Tina, you'll be next wherever you may be. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor, and everybody else that's here. I'd like to first question how, if it's legal that you cut our time down from people doing 3 minutes down to 1 minute. So I checked the legality of that, whether you're mayor or not. There's a legal precedent to how you do that in a public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, somebody said earlier, art is controversial. And it is so true, because what one person sees, another person doesn't like. And some people, like some art, and some people don't like other art. But, I don't think that I'm really confused as to whether it was the committee that told Carol what to put on the box, or if it was Carol who decided that's what was going to be put on the box. I'm just totally, because I hear different things from the committee. What I'd like to say is that Carol has been a wonderful person in this community. Carol and Jack, when he was alive, did everything they could for this community, for the diversity, for my family, for my children. So it's not so much that Carol is a bad person. It's that box isn't representative of who we are in Gilroy. And so if you say that this capsule will be seen in 27D and they will know what Gilroy was like, I look at that box and I say, that's not what Gilroy is like today in 2021. And I'm really sad that in 2021, we still have to have this conversation. I would have really liked to have seen Carol's artwork when she was talking about all the different faces that she was thinking of and the diversity. I was thinking of Diego Rivera, who did his murals, and he put everybody's face on that. And he always had his cameo of either him or Frida.
Okay,
and it just did wonders for everybody to have that diversity. So the last thing I'd like to say is that if Councilwoman Armendariz hadn't have said what she said, it wouldn't have been on record. It's not something to say after the meeting. It was something to say during the meeting, so it could be on record.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next speaker, Tina.
Tina Chaveria.
Good
Hi,
evening. My
thank
name
you
is
for being
Tina
here.
Chavarria. I'm also here about the time capsule, and it is very upsetting that we're just being erased. I do agree Carol has beautiful artwork, but if she wasn't directed to what to do, why did it go over her head what Gilroy was really about? You heard Casey, she was there, she helped him, she did all this, so why didn't she decide, take it upon herself and said, let's add everybody. Let's include everybody. And apologies, it's just, nobody needs an apology. That's just, I'm just so upset. And Mayor, you're supposed to be here representing the city, our city, where you're supposed to unite us. You're supposed to be fair. You took that oath. And now you're willing to say, oh, well, Carol Peters can go over. Everybody else is cut because you're the mayor. I mean,
That's not what I said, but please don't cut into your own time with that.
Similar to that.
Okay,
And I respect you all on this board. I really do. But it's just saddened that, like Mrs. Tomasello said, we're still fighting. Why? Why can't Gilroy be different? Why can't she, if she wasn't directed, Mrs. Peters, why didn't she say, look, you're asking me to do this. What about everyone? Where's the diversity in it? It's really saddened. And I've been in Gilroy all my life.
So have I. Thank you.
Then you should unify us, not separate us. That was your job. That's why we voted you in there.
Oh, thank you.
So please, unify us. And I think Ms. Armendariz did an amazing job. She did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it was my decision to let Carol speak longer. I'm sorry for those who disagree with that, but that was my decision for her to speak longer. Okay? Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Miguel Correa.
Mayor, City Council, Rebecca, I salute you. And people out here, you, people of color, are not invisible. You are somebody. Okay? We are somebody. Thing is, on her painting it, I'm not even thinking about her. I'm looking at the painting. Let's not change the subject to her. The painting does not represent us in any iota or way. This right here is not invisible. This is my Indian side. They worked, they worked over here at the Pelotoni Ranch. This is my grandfather, born in the 1890s, these people. They worked in the Pelotoni Ranch. Look at that. These not our, hey, you're not going to make them invisible. That's bull. I went to war. I'm a disabled veteran. I got a disabled son. Am I going to neglect that it's just going to be Caucasians pictured or put names up there without faces? Hey, we are somebody, let me tell you. This, just because I can pass, my heart and soul cannot pass. And that goes for all of you out there. You know what? I cannot be bought. No, it just, I've been through a lot. I've been even here. Okay, my son was a city councilman here. Can you imagine somebody telling you in the community or the guys that had positions, but my disabled son, he can't be your son. He doesn't look like you. Huh? He was Filipino, half Filipino, and of course I'm a Mexicano, I'm a Chicano. Okay? Can you imagine somebody in the city council was saying that when my son was running for city council? You know that my family got attacked by some of these right-wing organizations because I stood up. I can pass. When you can pass, it's privileged. I know you have to because it's on the other side, Mayor. I respect, Mayor. And like I said, we are not invisible, Mayor.
Sally Armendariz.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm not going to address what's already been addressed. But thank you. First of all, I want to say, like Carol, I've been here my whole life. She's been here 77 years. I've been here 78. And I'm proud of being a Chicana from Gilroy. And even though Carol, couldn't meet or whatever because of the pandemic, she knew that we were here because she went to school with us. Some of her friends that she parties with are brown-skinned. Now, how she managed not to see them or put them in that capsule is beyond me. But I do want to say that, she is a great artist, except she missed the boat. And this city council here last Monday missed the boat. Because when you saw your 4 little pager that only included Anglo or European Americans, you should have mentioned, there's a problem here. Where's the rest of the community? We have Chicanos here, Mexicanos, Filipinos, Japoneses. It was even the Chinese people that brought the garlic. Come on, if you're going to talk about Gilroy, do it correctly. I am so proud of being a Gilroyan, but do it correctly. Don't try to BS us and think that down the line somebody's going to say, the only thing we had here was Italianos. And if anybody owes an apology, it's this city council right here to the Gilroy community. And that was because last Monday they didn't have what word should I use? The goal to realize that their community was missing. Because you have 2 here that obviously are not Anglo-Americans or Europeans. Look at them. There's another one over there. And yet they're not included in this thing. I really believe that this city council owes an apology to the Gilroy community.
Okay,
and I
thank
also
you.
believe that you guys should reconvene and start a brand new
Thank you.
committee to include everybody.
Thank you, Sally. Time is up. It's 2 minutes. Thank you. Next speaker.
Next, we have Ron Kirkish.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Ron Kirkish. I'm a resident of Gilroy. Diversity. That was the word that was used on Monday night. That was the word that really upset the whole apple cart, that it wasn't diversity. Well, I look at the days, and I see diversity. I see you, Peter. I see you, Fred. I see you, ma'am. Carol has 20% diversity in her, from what I understand. I see a police chief behind me. I remember a former city administrator who was Hispanic. I see a president of our Gavilan School Board who is a Hispanic. And they are all wonderful people. They're doing a great job. I especially love our chief. We have diversity. I remember Mrs. Arellano, too. She outranks me. She was an E5, I was an E4. She let me know. And I always respect authority, rank. But in any case, they've all given to this city. I don't think, in this case, we are meeting diversity. We're getting better as a community, better than we've ever been before, and we're going to get better still. So to be complaining about something that doesn't need to be complained about is only divisive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Phil Larson.
Good evening, all. I'm a recovering high school teacher. I taught social studies, and the most inspiring thing that could happen in a classroom is when you had a good discussion. It may start with a question or a comment by somebody, and then it triggers all this thought. And tonight what we're seeing here, not only is there the visible diversity around us, but people are standing up and saying what they believe and talking about their people. And it's right, we do need to have diversity and reflect that diversity. I want you to know, though, that Carol, and people have said this before, that Carol is really somebody who herself celebrates diversity. And whether it's painting Mayor Hewen, I've seen paintings that she's done of Native Americans in the area. And, so she is somebody who's got a wonderful soul, and I'm glad that a lot of speakers recognize that. But this is really inspiring in that we're facing these things. So keep on.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Eric Howard.
I'm timing you. Okay. Go ahead.
I came here because when I moved to Gilroy, Carol was probably one of the first people I worked on a committee with, and she is truly one of the most classy ladies you're ever going to meet. She really is, and it really bothered me. So I came here, to support her. But, I can't tell you how many council meetings I've been in, and it's when it all comes, when everything's done, and then people, I don't like the way that committee did it. I don't like all the decisions made. Well, I'd recommend get on some of these committees and help out. It's a few people that do the work. Get involved and then make the decisions, but don't come after the fact and say, oh, you guys didn't do it the way I want to do it. So, thank you.
Okay, guys, no. Next speaker, please.
We have Kayla Acevedo.
And then would you announce the next one too? Because the ones that are far away.
Guillermo Suarez.
Okay. Yes, no, not, I'm aware. Thank
Hi,
you.
my name is Kayla Acevedo.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk about the time capsule. There's a lot of things that's been talked about here, and I appreciate everyone that's spoken, and I appreciate being given the opportunities to speak. The man, 2 men before, I forgot his name, or the person, anyway. He was talking about a word, diversity. And the thing that I found really interesting is that he stated all these people that are Latino, that are diverse, and said, why complain that these people aren't represented? Well, that's exactly why. These people are not represented. You see the diversity, and the importance of adding them into that is immense. Carol, this is one of the first few times that I've actually ever met you, and when you came up here, you sound sweet. Nothing is against you, because I don't think anything is. What I think, in your speech, you were talking about how you were upset that you didn't receive any direction, and it was also supported by another woman who came in. I forgot her name. She was a newcomer, or was a newcomer to Gilroy. And I also think that's concerning that you have someone who isn't from Gilroy, at least now, on this sort of group, on this sort of project to represent Gilroy, when this person hasn't been in Gilroy long enough to understand or even know what is in Gilroy itself. When I first moved to Gilroy, I thought Gilroy was majority white, and that was before I met friends. That's before I started volunteering and stepping into the community and seeing Gilroy is so full of diversity. Japanese, Mexican, Chicano, Latinos, Indigenous. I would have not known this unless I made the effort. And honestly, has the white community made the effort to diversify themselves, to understand what is in our community?
Thank you. It's been 2 minutes and 15 seconds. You want to?
Okay. I would like to ask for this to be reconsidered. I would like a new painting to be presented again, and this time to include members of the community. Ask them. Send a letter. Send an email. Many people go to Gavilan, and I know that they will read the letters.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
We're done with public cards, but we have the...
Oh, we're done with, oh, someone was standing there, so I thought he had,
Oh, I'm sorry, Guillermo Suarez, I'm sorry, yes.
there was one more?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, sir, go ahead. Your name? Or did you announce it?
Guillermo Suarez?
Sí, yo soy.
Okay, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Sí, muy buenas noches. And that's something else maybe the city council needs to understand and look at in the future is having these meetings, discussions in Spanish, so that people who speak Spanish and may not understand as well in English can attend the meetings and understand what the city of Gilroy is doing. But let me back up a second. I want to thank the creators. I want to thank the indigenous people, the Ohlone, the sister and the brother who spoke about their ancestors and how they're forgotten, not just on that box, but in history. Like, people don't know about them as if they're not here. They exist. I want to say thank you to Tonatiuh and Tonatzin, the creators. I want to say to the sun, to the earth, to all the Mexicanos and Mexicanas who helped Gilroy grow. And you say, huh? Yeah, a lot of my people, Mexicans, worked at Gilroy, at the Gilroy Foods and Gentry International. Is that reflected over there on that box? No, but Gentry's and Gilroy Foods laid an early economic basis for the city of Gilroy to prosper, provided jobs for a lot of Mexicano people, which has to be remembered. And so, like, I speak generally in support of everybody that's spoken about the box and the problems with that. And let me say that I think that we do need here in Gilroy to implement a diversity and inclusion policy. And so the city council needs to take that up and maybe appoint a special commission to draft some legislation or some recommendations for all future committees and all future actions by the city, be more inclusive and be more diverse. Now, let me say, I know I'm going to run out of time, but I'm just going to keep talking.
You're at 2 minutes now, but what is it you want to say?
That, this is all reflective of white supremacy. And it's like, that's how some people see the world, from white supremacist eyes. That's why they don't paint Asian people, they don't paint Mexicans, they don't put black people. Let me tell you about Mr. Gilroy.
Sir, you're out of time.
Mr. Gilroy was the first illegal person to come to Gilroy. He jumped ship and became a naturalized Mexican. Now, why would he become a naturalized Mexican? Because this was Mexico.
Sir?
Because he came to a place where there were Mexicans.
Thank you.
The Paseo, downtown Gilroy, shows a better reflection. It's not perfect, but it has better images of what Gilroy is, right? It's got the Ohlone people, it's got Mexicans, it's got Italians, and it's got Japanese people.
Sir, you're at
All of
you're
us
over 3
have
minutes.
contributed
You
to the
need
growth
stop.
of Gilroy.
Thank you.
You know, let me just one comment, and then I'm gone.
That's what you said already. I'm sorry. We have a lot, everybody else has respected it. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
You are the mayor of Gilroy, and someone earlier said that there was another woman mayor of Gilroy. Y'all ain't even on the box. You don't think that the future should know that Gilroy had women mayors?
Sir, I'm going to, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. Now you have one more that you want to read.
And the last comment was received by retired Mayor Don Gage. City Clerk, Mayor, and Council members, after observing last Monday's meeting of the City Council, I felt a need to express my opinion of what I saw. Councilmember Armendariz, I was shocked that a volunteer was criticized for presenting a project which was to keep the council informed. This should have been a time to celebrate and show your respect and support, not to criticize the effort to help remember our past. Carol Peters, with the help of other individuals who spent their many hours of time and labor of love, need to be thanked for their efforts. Volunteers use their time, skills, and expertise to enhance the city and improve our quality of life for all. Without volunteers, our city could not function as a great place to live. Councilmember Armendariz, you have destroyed trust and incentive for dedicated individuals to volunteer in the future. You should be ashamed of yourself. They deserve an apology. Your job is to work for the community and not against them. Remember who you work for. Retired Mayor Don Gage.
Okay, that concludes public comment. We can't have a discussion, unfortunately, because this is not on the agenda. But after council member reports, we will get to future council-initiated items where maybe we can see what this council would like to agendize as a result of the comments that we've heard. Okay, so
Mayor, can my
thank
question be clarified?
In your question? Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Excuse me, your questions, I understood it was the nature of the committee. I actually am not aware, it was not an official council committee, and when we call things ad hoc committees, that means they're not Brown Act committees. It was an informal thing, as I understand it, instigated by the former mayor, but was not a council committee.
Okay, and we gave them $25,000?
No.
City money?
The city didn't give them any money.
I don't think we did.
That's what I was informed about.
Told by who?
By Jimmy.
Ask Jimmy.
There was a contribution from the city
Oh, there was?
for the general 150th anniversary festivities, the event, but it was not designated for any specific purpose.
Okay, and so I would wonder about accountability of that and if it was used for, in any way, for the time capsule.
Yeah, it's my understanding there were no funds used for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so council member reports. Council member Bracco.
Nothing to report.
Council member Armendariz.
Nothing to report.
Council member Marks.
No report.
Council member Hilton is not here. Council member Tovar.
No report.
Council member Laromagnos.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, that brings it to me, and I'm going to say no report as well because of the time. Okay, future council-initiated items. I would like to see what this council thinks about having a future agenda item that discusses a policy similar to what Arts and Culture Commission has on accepting gifts to be displayed, so that in the future, when such things occur, we can make sure that they consider diversity and inclusion in the work and have it be something more formal. Councilmember Laromagnos, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really like the idea of including that where we formalize a process to consider diversity and equity and inclusion in artwork that we might have going forward. In addition to that, I want to put on raise a future item as well, corollary to that. And before I do so, I also want to take a moment. I think she might have left, but Ms. Carol Peters, I wanted to recognize her service to the community through the years. She's been active as long as I've been here, and she has helped on any number of different causes for the community. So I wanted to recognize her and thank her for stepping up and creating something for the city. Now, in that spirit, I think it's also incumbent upon the city to step up and also be proactive in creating artwork to accompany the time capsule box. And I think I'd like to see that also highlight the diversity of the community. We've heard that a lot tonight. I think this is a good way that honors that diversity, and so that is what I would like the council to consider as a future item.
So bringing back a policy on gifts that are to be displayed and consideration of an additional item to be with the time capsule, is that what you're saying?
That is correct, an
Okay.
accompanying piece of art.
Okay.
Can we close the door? It's really noisy.
Yeah, it would be nice to close the doors, yes. Thank you to anybody who is willing to do that. Okay, so again, it's not on the agenda, so we're just discussing whether or not clarity on what the future agenda item should be. Would you like to add something?
So you'd like, what I was going to propose was an equity inclusion policy for any and all city commissions, policies, decision-making, not just limited to gifts of art, but to all that we do so that we can avoid situations like this, so we can look at trying to achieve success for all of the people in our community and racial equity. So that's what I would support.
Yeah, right. So, okay. Does anyone else on the Councilmember Tovar, you have a comment?
Yeah, no, thank
Okay.
you. I mean, I think I'm just echoing what both my colleagues are saying. I think what Councilmember Armendariz is saying, I think And I also think Councilmember Munoz are both saying the same thing, but yeah, I agree. I think it has to be not just for artwork, it has to be for everything in general. So I would support that.
Okay. And are there two different, these are two different agenda items, right?
I would propose they come back as one. One is for things that are to be displayed, because that's the issue with this, is that it's a gift. And normally with a gift, nobody would, I mean, we get gifts from sister cities all the time. It's because this is displayed that is, I believe, generating what it's generating, because otherwise, I mean, anybody can give a gift that is of their own, their own gift.
Because I think we
Okay.
have to, now that we've received the gift, what I would ask is that we delay it being displayed, and instead, if we could officially ask or encourage the committee to work with the artists to expand the committee to reflect the diversity of our community, and then come back with a modified piece of art that we can display. Because as tempting as it is to get our own time capsule, this is not Jim Crow era. This is
so we're going
Gilroy,
to, from the
California.
audience, you don't
And
call
so-
out. Gosh.
So I don't want a separate but equal time capsule. I don't want us to install separate water fountains. I want us to have one unified box that
I
reflects
understand. Right.
Gilroy.
Okay,
Thank you.
if that's one
That would
person's
be my-
opinion, right. So we need to go to the first item, which is, as council, at least I would be supportive of what Councilmember LaRose and Councilmember Tovar explained. I would not support changing the existing, because that's an existing piece. I would certainly support, if that's what comes out of our future agenda discussion, supplement, adding something to it, so that both things, whatever they may be,
Do you
stay
mean
in council chambers. We
Also
can't just-
include,
discuss on this.
Mayor, do you also mean include in it the contents
See, we're not
of the box?
That's
or do
just
you
it.
mean-
We can't talk about that until we get it on the agenda. So
Okay.
let's get on the agenda a policy about gifts that are displayed, making sure that they consider diversity and inclusion in all their work. And Councilmember Munoz added to that. Do you want to repeat what you added, Councilmember? If I don't say it correctly? Because it was getting at what you're saying, just without the detail of what it is. Which is
Thank
what
you,
we're not
thank you,
supposed to
Madam Mayor.
discuss.
It was for the city to step up and to provide an accompanying piece of artwork that reflects the diversity of the community.
So it's a separate piece. What it would be is what we cannot discuss. But that brings back that discussion so the public can participate, and it's another agenda item. Okay, so we need a thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether or not to bring that back for discussion. And that, the thumbs up, thumbs down is right from here. Okay, so I see 5 thumbs up, so that will be a future agenda item. Okay?
And then I'd like to propose a future agenda item as well.
Okay, yeah, just a second. Jimmy needs to repeat what we just said so that he's clear.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I want to summarize this in my own words so that way I know I don't fall short of your expectations. Staff will return with a staff report that will initiate the discussion on 3 items, one being the accepting of gifts to be displayed at City Hall, second, artwork honoring diversity that would accompany the 150th time capsule, and third, city's equity inclusion policy for all boards and commissions and committees.
what I heard.
Did I summarize that correctly?
Okay.
And that, again, that starts the conversation, and then you can have your
Exactly.
dialogue about what you're
Exactly.
looking for.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Mayor,
Yeah.
you said 5. Did everybody vote?
Yes,
6?
everybody.
There's
there's
6 of us.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6.
Yeah, well, yeah, I
Oops.
wanna make sure.
I didn't count myself. I didn't count myself. 6.
All right, I just want to make
My apology. Thank you for that correction. 6. Okay, now you had another initiated request?
Well, like I said, until we, I don't know what's going to happen with the display of the gift that we received. So are we going to wait? Are we going to delay that until we have a policy?
There's no.
How do we move forward?
It's right there, and no, it's there, but we are going to, I mean,
Then I would-
I think we have time, 50 years.
So,
there's
so
time.
then I would just like to agendize a discussion about it being removed from chambers until we can have artwork that is
Oh.
reflective.
Okay, so Councilmember Armendariz is asking for it to be removed, so does that have council support?
Well, let me ask a clarifying question, if I may. So, and with due all respect, I respect.
And it's not removed, it's removed until.
There, yeah, see, I think that's sort of the thing. Is it possible for us, again, it's in no way, shape, and form sort of depicting this on the artist, but I think what Councilmember Armendariz is saying is, until we come back and have this discussion, can we put it aside? Because I think, unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of divisiveness going on here, and I think by having this healthy discussion, and if we come back and say, you know what, we're going to keep it, great. If we decide that we're going to change it, then that's what we do. So I think what you're asking for is just temporarily just putting it aside until we come back and have a discussion.
That's fine.
Okay, so that needs to be voted on. I do not support that. So I'm a thumbs down on that, and the rest of you are
Mayor,
going to...
Mayor, may I say something?
Yes, sorry.
Last week, I didn't even know a time capsule was in the works, or it was a box, it was going to be painted. It came as a gift. And I know Sally was saying, why didn't any of us object? It was a gift. And I don't know, I've been raised not to insult the person who has given me a gift, whether I liked it or not. That was not for me to say publicly and embarrass the person. I think all of you need to remember that Carol did this for free. So if you're asking for her to add or replace, then we better start thinking about how we're going to pay her, because I highly doubt she's going to do another piece for free. So that needs to all be part of this conversation.
Yeah, we're not here, though, tonight.
Right. No, I know that. But I think the audience might be thinking that we're just going to say,
the audience can think
what
they have to wait till it comes back on the agenda for any kind of discussion. So right now, we need to, Councilmember Armendariz has asked that it be removed temporarily, and we should be in the process of either supporting or not supporting
Mayor,
that.
can I say, sorry, Mayor.
Councilmember Tovar, you said something. Councilmember Loromagnos, would you like to say something?
I'll let Fred go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Thank you. Again, I agree. I think it was a gift. Doesn't mean that if we decide to keep it here now, that changes can't be made later, and I look forward to that discussion. If later on we decide that it's something that we want to remove completely, by all means, but I think right now, we owe it to the artist at least to keep it until
Okay,
we have
we're
that
not
discussion.
supposed to be having discussion, guys. That's where it always turns to that. Okay, Councilmember Loromagnos?
So if I understand it, then the question is just to agendize the discussion
No.
at a future point.
Correct.
As to whether or not this box should remain in the chambers.
That is
all.
correct.
That's all we're discussing.
That's right. You are correct.
Okay. I just
Right?
wanted to clarify.
Yes. Okay.
That's all we could do.
Okay. So, please, thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, putting it on the agenda. 4 to 2 with 1 absent. So that will be on a future agenda too. Okay. Now, we can move on with our regular meeting, consent calendar. Does anybody wish to pull anything off of consent?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Everybody vote.
There we go.
And that looks like it passes 6 with 1. I don't know if you're showing the 1 absent there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it
Mine
says
shows
0.
0 absent.
0.
Or abstain. That's abstain, not absent. Oh, it shows them up there. Okay. Very good. Public hearings, 7:45. Adoption of a mitigated negative declaration. Approval of a planned unit development rezoning, tentative map, and architectural and site review for the 10th and Chestnut Commercial Project, also known as Laurel Square. And Craig Tambernini is going to be giving us this staff report. All right, Craig.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This item is before you after a couple of years of being in the works with the city to come up with a plan for
Excuse me, people in the council chambers who are talking, would you please exit the room? Thank you. You're not exiting the room. Okay, Craig,
okay to
I'm sorry.
take
Go
that
ahead.
down. Hopefully we're not just transferring COVID back and forth here.
No, I know.
Anyway, I just want to introduce the project before you. This is a project that's been in the works for a couple of years now, working with the applicant to come up with a development plan for 6.8 acres at the corner of Chestnut and 10th Street in the city. The proposal would read about the 6.8 acre site that includes the Chestnut Center on the corner and then some industrial lands to the rear. The development involves a planned unit development rezoning, which would be a commercial PUD to allow some creative flexibility within the project to facilitate construction of a 120-room hotel plus several retail buildings, including 3 drive-through fast food restaurant or coffee shops, a car wash use, and a gas station. The project also would include a public art amenity and requests a few exceptions to the zoning standards, which are detailed in the staff report. I just wanted to briefly show you the phasing plan. This is an important exhibit because it shows what the master developers committed to building for the project in the initial phase. We anticipate the car wash on the corner being constructed, along with all the frontage improvements on the site and the internal driveways, and then the frontage improvements on 9th Street, which would include landscaping, new sidewalks, street trees, and all the basic exterior improvements. Now, individual tenants would come in and build out their subsequent building by separate permit. At this time, we've got 6 parcels and we've got 5 tenants that the applicant already has ready to occupy those parcels. And plans for all those buildings are in your exhibit. So we have 1 building that's yet to be occupied with a tenant. I just wanted to show you the typical elevations. These are in the design guidelines that are prepared in your packet as part of the project. These would be essentially the design motif that the buildings would follow. In terms of staff's analysis, we looked at the project for compliance with the General Plan 2040. It promotes the general services retail land use designation. The plan unit development requires a higher quality of design. The project achieves that by providing a set of detailed design standards with the project and detailed elevations that show attention to all facades of the building. And then there's a tentative map and an architectural and site review permit associated with this that would round out the entitlements. The Planning Commission reviewed the project on September 2nd and unanimously recommended approval. One caveat to that I'd note is there was a request for a motion amendment that did fail, and that motion amendment had to do with providing more bicycle parking and making some changes to the landscape plan to provide more low water intensive landscaping. But the project was approved as presented without that change unanimously. So staff's recommending, consistent with Commission's direction, to adopt the mitigated negative declaration as the project's environmental document, to introduce the plan unit development rezoning for this property, and adopt resolutions to approve the project with conditions and mitigation measures, and that would be the architectural site review and tentative map resolutions. So that concludes my presentation. I do have, there was a comment received that was emailed to you. I'd be happy to respond to those questions at the behest of the council, and the applicant's here as well to provide a presentation. And again, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, council, I'm going to go first to any questions of Craig at this stage. No? Okay, then I'd like to go to disclosure of any ex parte communications just down the line. Anything to disclose? No? Rebecca?
No, I'm sorry, I zoned out. I have a question.
Oh, for Craig?
I have a question for Craig.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I know that there's a neighborhood close by on Chestnut, on 8th Street, Old Gilroy and such. And so I'm wondering about what kind of engagement plan was done with them, what kind of outreach was done to talk about the impacts of the 5-story hotel, of the signage, of the lighting, of the increased park traffic. Like, how was the neighborhood engaged in that process?
So our standard outreach was done, which is sending notices to neighbors and residents within 500 feet of the site. So that was done on several occasions. We sent notices out for the Planning Commission meeting, for this City Council meeting, and for the environmental document that went out. And so that document was released for 30 days, and we did all of our standard notice in the paper. So that's the extent of it. That's what our normal protocol is, and that's what we had done in this case.
Just a quick follow-up question. Is that sent to homeowners and the apartment owners only, or does it go just in general to every address?
Yeah, and it just goes to the property owners. And I think I said owners and residents, so I stand corrected. In the Murray Los Animas Avenue, we send it to residents, but yeah, stand corrected. It would have just gone to the property owners.
Okay, thank you. It just concerns me because the bulk of the folks who live there I mean, there's just mostly apartment and multifamily units there. So the neighborhood wouldn't be notified, right? Because they don't own those apartment complexes. They're largely corporate owned.
That'd be correct.
Okay, right. All right. Back to ex parte communications then. Were there any?
No.
Okay. Any on this side? Okay. Then I'd like to open the public hearing. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Yes, we have Guadalupe Arellano.
Okay.
Hello again. Long night.
Make sure and time it, Christina. Okay.
You all got my email, I think, on the questions, and Craig says that he was going to respond. I was hoping he would respond to me, but I guess he was really busy today. But I will tell you that I knocked on doors at all down 8th Street and around the corner, because there's apartments facing Old Gilroy Street too. And we had a meeting, and there was 8 residents that came out. And I don't know if you got it in your packet, but I did send it to the Planning Commission. And so they got what they had responded to. And a lot of the question was about the 5-story hotel and the lights that it would go and the traffic that it would produce if people turned to the right on 9th Street. Because unfortunately, the report says that 9th Street loops back on 8th Street, but it doesn't. If you take 9th Street to the right, you go down the road there by Crocker's Rockers, and the road comes out on Old Gilroy, and it goes right by the elementary school. So it was not done right. Anyway, I just want to let you know that the people there are ready to speak. They're ready to learn about what's happening there. They just feel like they were overlooked. And I know that Craig said, when I asked him how he knew that the lights wouldn't bother, he goes, oh no, they won't bother. I said, I didn't see the study. I don't know how you did that. Because I will confess to you that a long time ago, I okayed a sign, the sign on, I guess it's on the west side of 101, the auto sign. And I said, oh, it's out in the country. It's not going to bother anybody. And that sign is huge. It bothered a lot of residents there. And I got a lot of complaints. And I said, I never thought of how it would project. And that's, I think, one of the big things that I'd like you to look at is the 5-story hotel. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
None.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment hearing. And Councilmember Marks, I'm sorry, you had, I think you were in the queue before, so go ahead.
Mayor? No, that's okay. I don't have questions for Craig, but I do have it for the planner or for the developer. So is there a representative here tonight?
Right. We might, just a second. Christina, what were you going to say?
Craig had mentioned that the applicant was going to provide a presentation or speak.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, you know what? Then you go ahead and speak, and then I'll ask after that, because you might answer some of my questions.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Alex Gonzalez. I'm with Evergreen Development. We've been at this for 3 years, actually. It was about 3.5 years ago that we met with the first planning stuff. At the time, Craig and I grabbed our stone chiseling kit. We made a couple presentations to the city councils at the time, and just an exciting night for us to be presenting our project after all our work. I don't have a presentation. I'm just here.
Oh, great.
I'm
okay.
here,
well, then that's fine. Then we'll go to
consultants that if you have any questions or specifics.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, Councilmember Marks, go ahead. And other council members with questions, just put yourself in the queue.
All right. I have a few. What businesses have you actually signed leases with?
We have signed leases with the hotel.
Can you tell us which hotel it is?
Yeah, it's Hyatt. And
Hyatt?
It's a very local project. Robbie is local to Gilroy. He's going to be owning the project. We have actually a purchase contract with Robbie. We also have one with Blue Wave, which is the car wash. And the other deals are with, I don't believe I can mention them, but with a national coffee chain. And that is an imminent deal. We have also one with Chick-fil-A. I can mention that one. And the fourth one would be the corner gas station. That deal is not signed. We do feel that it's imminent. And then we're speaking with a QSR for one of the better burger uses.
You know, I'm having a really hard time hearing you with the mask on.
If you could just put, no, or put the microphone closer, straighten the mic.
Yes. Say the
mic,
last
too.
part
So
again.
the last is one of the parcels. We do not have a deal spoken for at the moment, but we're speaking with a few users. Our focus for that one is going to be a national burger chain, but one of the better ones.
All right. How long will your project take once you get going? Like when will we be able to drive through and?
It depends. As the master, I'll explain the phasing plan. That was what Craig was presenting to you earlier. Is we're gonna parcelize the property, and we're gonna provide common driveways. We're gonna bring the utilities to every lot, and that's our delivery obligation to each one of our users. We're speaking with 3 or 4 users that I believe if we were able to deliver those tomorrow, they could start building right away, but I cannot guarantee it. It depends on the timing and the readiness of each end user, and it also depends on how many contractors can be on site without stepping over each other.
So then each business is going to be an independent business, right?
That's correct.
All right. So this could take a while. If you do not have a lease signed from a business, are you the one responsible for maintaining that piece of empty land?
It will be the owner.
From weeds and garbage and, all right, because I'm concerned about Morgan Hill where you have a development and you started, and I believe you have the 7-Eleven car wash and you have one more building in there. What is it? The store, the car wash, gas station. But it's not open. And all the rest of your property is empty. Yeah, here comes your buddy up here to help.
I've got Mr. Morgan Hill actually in the
So,
flesh right here.
I don't want to see the same thing happen in Gilroy, where you start and then it doesn't materialize, and then we have an unkept corner there which collects a lot of garbage from the unhoused and a lot of mattresses and junk. So I don't want it to become a real eyesore. Yeah. That's why I'm concerned about how long it's going to take you to actually have the occupancy and if you're going to continue maintaining it. All right.
Let him answer.
See, she gets testy with us, too.
No, it's
not
just
the
getting,
public.
it's getting late and we need to move,
I am Rod Collins with Evergreen. So thank you for letting us present tonight. We don't want another Morgan Hill either. Morgan Hill was really a direct result, or a lot of the problems we had there was from COVID. We had users that backed out of the project because of COVID. We're starting to get more activity there and to do that. That was also a 20-acre development. And when we closed escrow on that project, we only had half the project spoken for. As Alex mentioned, in the project here in Gilroy, we're really excited because we've got 5 of the 6 pads spoken for, and we actually are pretty far down the road on the 3rd pad in with a local Gilroy resident that would be doing that pad and doing a very, as he said, upscale burger chain is what would be there. But the projects are so different. Also, I've often held up Craig as an example of what it's like to work with a city planning department that supports what you're doing. And Craig has been wonderful. Gary Heap has been wonderful in working with us to get to the end here. It's been a long time coming. In Morgan Hill, we didn't have the same type of city support all along the way that we did here. So I just want to thank you because you guys have a great staff that has really helped us do that. It's been a long time coming. As Alex said, it's been now 3 years. And the great thing is we've had a lot of users that have been interested in the project. We've tried to balance everything. We think we've come up with something that is really going to be special here in Gilroy. And I will tell you, though, it's a very, very expensive project, and it's getting to the point now where it's kind of teetering, and I've met with Jimmy in the past, and he's helped out. So, again, I mean, it's not going to be another Morgan Hill. We've got all the users lined up that we didn't in Morgan Hill. And hopefully, knock on wood, there's not another big pandemic.
Thank you. Councilmember, may I move on? Okay, Councilmember Tovar?
Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you for those comments regarding our staff. It's good to hear. It's good to hear that you've been working well with them. And I'm glad Councilmember March brought up those questions because obviously we're all really concerned about that. I want to commend you on something because when we had this discussion a few years back one of the things that I and many of us said is that we want this project to look really, really nice, and we don't want just a cookie-cutter type design because of the location where it's located, and it's sort of an entry point to Gilroy, you know, and looking at the renderings that you have in our packet, I mean, I commend you for that because it looks really modern, really classy. It reminds me of what we have on the west side of town, and I appreciate the work that you put into the design. I think it's only going to enhance Gilroy, but also that side of town as well that many of us represent, all of us represent. So I want to commend you on that. Thank you.
One other thing I did want to add, you made me think of something, is that it's really important from the city's standpoint, if we do get approved tonight, that we do get those building permits pushed through as fast as possible. That's one of the issues we've had in Morgan Hill, is it's taken quite a long time. They had third-party consultants that were trying to help us through the thing. It just took way too long. And as you know, this is going to generate some really nice tax dollars. So the quicker we can get through, Councilwoman Marquez, to address your point as far as timing, I think we're looking to pull our permits by, I think it's May or June, I think, and hopefully the tenants can all get through their building permits about the same time, and so we can all start construction. It's not going to be perfect. Some will take longer than others, but, you know, hopefully within, you know, I would think 2 years from now, hopefully all these businesses would be open. And I know that a lot of them, based on our activity, they want to be open quick.
Thank you. Councilmember Armendariz?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering about the traffic impact and what will be done, because we know hotels, not everybody parks in the hotel parking lot. They'll park on 9th Street. We have our fire station really close by. And the shopping center on the northwest corner already generates a lot of traffic making left turns out of the northeast corner, also making left turns, and there's always a lot of near misses there. So I'm wondering what's the mitigation plan for the impact of that traffic on the neighborhood and on that intersection, which is already incredibly busy.
Okay, I think that's probably a question for Craig. Would you guys?
I think that's probably more a question
Yes.
for Craig. I will say, though, as it relates to the hotel, it's all common parking. And the nice thing about when you have a hotel is that the people are there in the morning, and they typically leave, and then they come in the evening. We have a lot of businesses in our center that shouldn't be busy real late at night, and the parking should actually coalesce and actually work pretty well. But I'll let Craig address.
Yeah, I have a question
Maybe
for you.
Gary.
I thought that's what, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask my question then. Okay, then we'll have Craig come back. Is that all right?
I think Gary maybe, I don't know.
Or Gary. No, we'll take care of staff. Don't worry. We got our staff. Yeah. I would like to know how you feel about what the Planning Commission was trying to do, because I support really the requirements that the city has, and not to add any requirements to what we apply to all of our developers. But I know that the Planning Commission asked about bike lockers. Did you have an opinion on that, or do you just wish to let it go?
Yeah, I think that from our standpoint, whatever standard, the different users will provide their own bike parking. I think the one gentleman at the Planning Commission, the way I understood it is that he wanted to do something similar at the University of, or San Jose State University, and I don't think he could really pinpoint exactly what that was. I think one of the other planning commissioners said, but that's a university. It's not like what you're talking about here. So I don't, you know, he didn't define it well enough. I mean, we want to provide enough, but I think we are right now under the
You think
code.
you are providing enough? Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Gary or Craig, do you want to trade places and answer Councilmember Armendariz's question?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Armendaris. This project is generating a lot of traffic. It had a full traffic study done. This developer, as a result of that traffic study, is funding a number of improvements, including intersection improvements at Monterey and Monterey and 10th and Princeville. But the biggest one is that they're going to be funding a future widening on the north side in front of their project to widen for an additional future westbound to southbound left turn lane. So it's a single left turn lane right now. They'll be widening so that it'll be able to accommodate a dual left turn lane, which will clear some of the queuing issues that we have right now for the westbound traffic coming off the interchange.
The westbound traffic, so it'll be a widening of 10th Street?
widening on the north side.
On the north
along the
side.
project frontage to accommodate a second left turn lane at the intersection there at 10th and Automall.
Okay. And what about for pedestrians?
They're going to be doing pedestrian improvements as well.
Mhm.
They're going to be doing crosswalks and curb ramps at 9th and Chestnut, as well as some improvements along at that 10th Street interchange.
Has the idea of, or has anybody explored what can be done to curb the traffic from flowing into the neighborhood to avoid 10th and Chestnut?
So you're talking about coming out of the driveway on 9th? And I know there was concern from the community about folks coming out and making a right turn. I talked with the traffic consultant today, and they really projected the majority, if not all the traffic, coming out and making a left turn to get to Chestnut, then to get down to 10th and to go either into the various portions of the city or to get to the freeway. They did not envision a lot of folks coming out of there and going to the right, because that does take you up into some of the denser parts of the city. Folks that would be using the drive-throughs, using the hotels, would more than likely be coming to and from the freeway. So that's what was projected.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Marks, you have another question?
I do. Gary, you said 10th and Monterey, or do you mean, then you said 10th and Auto Mall? Do you mean 10th and Auto Mall?
Well, it's Automall and Chestnut and 10th. So it's kind of there's
It's that,
three
but it's
names
not
that-
10th and Monterey.
There are also improvements because there was queuing issues at both Monterey and 10th and at Princeville and 10th. There will be improvements done there as well. Just some striping improvements and some minor modifications to the median work,
All right.
just to extend some of the turn pockets.
All right.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so council, we have 4 separate items that we need to get through. So, we did public comment. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they require
Any
4
more questions
separate
for us?
roll call votes.
Right, exactly. So I would need, if anybody's ready, to make a motion on Part A. We can vote on A, which is to adopt by resolution the mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project with findings required by CEQA. So that motion has been made by Councilmember Bracco, seconded by Councilmember Tovar. And so, waiting on Councilmembers Marks and Armendariz.
We need a roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Each one of these unfortunately needs a separate roll call.
Okay, very good.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton? Oh, sorry, absent. Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes. Now, do we all also need to vote electronically, or does that not matter? It doesn't matter. Okay, because I just saw Councilmember Armendariz was missing up there, and I didn't know if that mattered.
I think all you have to do really is announce the vote.
Okay. All right.
So that vote was unanimous.
Great. Thank you. All right. Item B.
So move, I mean, if we're, right?
Okay, that's moved by Councilmember Tovar, seconded by Councilmember Bracco, to introduce an ordinance to approve Z2004, Planned Unit Development Rezoning. So roll call vote.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes, that's also unanimous with one absent. All right, item C.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a motion by
second.
Councilmember Bracco, seconded by Councilmember Tovar, to adopt a resolution to approve tentative parcel map TM 2003 with findings and conditions.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes, that's also unanimous with one absent. And now D,
So move.
Second.
moved by Councilmember Tovar, seconded by Councilmember Bracco, to adopt a resolution to approve Arc and Site Review AS 2014 with findings and conditions. Roll call.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blankley?
Yes, also unanimous minus one absent. Okay. Item 9, unfinished business, unhoused ad hoc committee recommendations, implementation report. And I think Bryce is going to be giving us that report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight is an update on the unhoused ad hoc committee recommendations. Beginning with the background, the committee was established in September of 2020. The committee, along with council, adopted 14 recommendations approved by City Council to help address those impacted by homelessness. 5 of those were established as first priorities by the committee. This update is going to provide information on all 14. Don't worry, it'll be quick though. First is establishing a safe parking program. Staff has issued a request for proposals. We did receive one proposal in response. It is being evaluated and will be brought back to council October 4th for the results and recommendations to be presented. The second one is, whenever possible, be proactive and support affordable housing efforts. This really isn't a specific project as much as an ongoing business practice. We are continuing to support affordable housing efforts in conjunction with City Council action, planning development, planning processes, and local unhoused service providers, as well as any others that are undertaking this endeavor. Third is supporting a mobile garbage removal program. We did issue an RFP. There are 3 proposals received. We are finalizing the analysis, and again, that will come back to council on October 4th for recommendations. Fourth is exploring the purchasing of a garbage compactor truck. Specifications have been completed, and quote requests have started being issued. We are looking for a small form used compactor garbage truck. As part of this process, Fleet will inspect possible vehicles as identified by potential sellers. Obviously, we're looking for 2 things: it's economical price and good quality. There's no set date for procurement because it's a used vehicle. The vehicle has to meet inspections, and there's no guarantee, unlike a new vehicle purchase assembly. Fifth is ensuring the county, state, water district, and private property owners are accountable for maintaining their properties in a clean condition. Again, this is not a specific project, as much as an ongoing process with code enforcement. We will be undertaking in the next quarter additional efforts on communication with these parties to ensure that they understand that they will be monitored and that what our expectations are and clearly enforced by code enforcement. 6th is partnering with the City of Morgan Hill. Again, this is an ongoing business practice. It's coordinated with them on the safe parking information of their programs, as well as information on the Office of Supportive Housing associated with a later goal. And then we'll be expanding these partnership opportunities as the ongoing work continues. 7th is continuing support of unhousing service providers through the CDBG grant funding. Council has already funded the 21-22 fiscal year to the unhoused service providers. The next opportunity is going to be in the next funding cycle for 22-23, which will be coming to council a little less than a year from now. 8 is coordinating monthly check-in meetings with lead unhoused service providers to address local unhoused issues. This task has been recently designated to staff to begin coordination. We're looking at initial meetings within the next 2 months, depending obviously upon availability of each individual service provider. 9 is organization of community cleanup days. Now, we do not have an update on this item, but the results of this will be affected potentially beneficially by the mobile garbage service RFP, as well as the refuse franchise agreement negotiations that are currently underway. And this work continues. Number 10 is the endorsement of Destination Homes Community Plan to End Homelessness. This goal has been completed with the resolutions adopted on August 2nd. 11 is researching an agency that can provide drug rehab, job training, and job placement. Again, we do not have an update on this item, but we will work to initiate this project on the next quarter, beginning in October. Number 12 is hire a quality of life officer. Preliminary year-end financial projections and cost estimates are ready, and staff will be presenting this to council in October. 13 was explore the differences amongst a police officer and a community services officer. This was completed as the police department did provide a report to the committee on these differences. Finally, 14 is partner with the County Office of Supportive Housing and establish a partnership to have access to their programs and services. This coordination is continuing. The Office of Supportive Housing is currently drafting conceptual pricing for the programs. In the agenda package was the table that they provided previously. They are working on specific costings for what we can buy into. And once those are received, we will be bringing that before council. At this point, next steps, the committee is looking at potentially closing out the committee level work as an ad hoc committee and handing off to staff and a staff level committee of service providers. What council can expect in the next steps is reporting in 3 different areas. One, we're reporting out transition from a committee to a staff at council meeting on October 18th. We'll also be reporting out any purchases and goal objectives as attained or as council approval is needed. and also working on future regular reporting of unhoused activities determined during that transition and that report to council. And that completes the presentation. Happy to address any questions or respond.
Thank you, Bryce. Okay, council questions, and Councilmember LaRomanos, I see your hand.
Yeah, Bryce, thank you for the report. I have one quick question on the third item there at the very bottom about the regular reporting. I know that the county does a big effort every so often. I forget what the interval is, but they'll go out, they'll do an accurate count, things like that. Do we do anything like that within our city? And if so, at what regular cadence do we do that?
I know that our community development department does participate in the counts and some information gathering for their updates. The frequency of that, I have to come back to the council with an update on that.
Okay, because I think it would be helpful. I'm not suggesting that we need to change the cadence of doing that or whatever, but I think as we get the reporting, it's helpful to have numbers with it to be as quantifiable as possible. I mean, obviously people can do the eyeball test and say, hey, are things getting better, things getting worse, whatever. But I think it's just helpful if we have actual numbers when we get those regular reports.
Certainly.
Thank you.
All right, council, any other questions of Bryce? Okay, I'd like to then open public comment.
We have one comment from Ron Kirkish.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello again, council. I did notice that on a couple of the stipulations there, you were talking about issues with drug addiction and stuff like that. But what I didn't see was a comment about the mentally ill. And I know that there's a close association of those. When that came up, it popped in my mind that there's now a Laura's Law that I think it's the county has adopted. I don't know if the cities have to adopt it, but in any case, the problem with the Laura's Law is that it's outpatient only. And I think most of us know that these people really need inpatient help. But in any case, it's a first step. And it was just something, I'm not sure if it really belongs in here, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no others? Okay.
None.
So I'm closing public comment and back to council. Councilmember Marks.
That was a good catch because mentally ill is supposed to be part of that. So, Bryce, we need to add mentally ill when we're talking about the drug addicts and the alcoholics. Councilmember Tovar and Councilmember Bracco, am I correct on that?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, this is receive report. I don't know where yes, go ahead, Councilmember Bracco.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out is we're ending, but we're also taking over the committee that meets at the PD monthly now that Jan Bernstein was chair of, because she doesn't want to do it anymore. So the city's it's going to be combined. So our hope was that it would have a couple council members on it to represent the city.
That's where I'm going. Okay. Okay, go ahead, let Jimmy talk.
Thank you, Mr. Bracco. When we report to you in October to dissolve the committee, we will then ask council to establish the quarterly committee that was one of the recommendations, and at that time you can consider the appointment of council members to be represented on that committee if that's what you wish to do.
Okay, so if a council member wants to be on that, who would they say that to?
Well, I think the first question would be if there are council members on the committee and such. At that time, you could decide how many, and then if you have volunteers or appointment or whatever process you want to go through to encourage those to serve on that committee if they'd like. We'll have a staff report that gives you those options and opportunity to give direction.
All right, then is there anything else on this item here? Okay, and we'll see that again in October. All right, appointment to Planning Commission. We had one applicant, so I don't think it's going to be too hard. But Leanne, is there a staff report here? Or my agenda says staff report, but you don't need to if you don't have one. Okay, there is no staff report, so council, does
Motion to approve.
Okay, so motion to approve Stephanie L. and seconded by Councilmember Marks. So it was made by Councilmember Armendariz, seconded by Councilmember Marks. Do we need a roll call on this? Okay, roll call vote. Oh, sorry. No, public comment. Is there public comment on this item?
It was received by one person.
No, this is on the Planning Commission appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You guys are back. We're on the Planning Commission appointment. Is there public comment for the?
We have no.
No public comment. Okay, very good. So we can take the roll call vote then.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blinkley.
Yes, all right, so that's unanimous, minus one absent. Okay, item B, adoption of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gilroy establishing the city's suicide prevention policy. And Jimmy, you're going to give this staff report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. This item is on your agenda due to some of the work of the Santa Clara County City Managers Association, which received a presentation about a month ago from an individual who lost a son to suicide. And he has been advocating for numerous years that all cities adopt suicide prevention policies. And so I'm going to explain to you tonight what that includes and what that entails. Just a little bit of background, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. Over 48,000 Americans die annually by suicide, and it is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 34. And in the last 20 years, suicide rates have increased by over 30%. Excuse me. Suicide is considered completely preventable. Santa Clara County Suicide Prevention Strategic Plan was adopted in 2010, so it's been around for about 11 years, and its purpose was to create awareness of suicide as a public health problem and advance prevention strategies. The policy is very simple in its nature and is very specific on what they're asking entities to do. Most of the cities in Santa Clara County have adopted such a policy, and it has 6 components. The first being city employees, annual communication of programs and services that we can provide to our employees should they need assistance or help, and also identifying those employees who may need assistance or help by various cues or things that you see in individual behavior that you can help with before it's unfortunately too late. Information in all of city facilities, including protocols of engagement with employees and where information could be found and quick access to numbers and websites and items like that. Third is communication with our city residents through our social media outlets, in any of our formats, including activities that also promote coordination with outside agencies. The 2 biggest ones are the National Suicide Prevention Month, which is actually this month, and the National Suicide Prevention Week, which was just about a week and a half ago. So those are, as you see, a lot of our marketing campaigns, depending on certain activities, this would be part of those, and again, would be very simple to add into our workload as that pertains to the information. And then general resources for implementation is work with the county behavioral health services, again, making a partnership like you've seen that we've done in many other items that have come before you to make those connections to at least help people get connected to services. And then lastly is an annual policy review in which the council could receive a report on activities that we've done and data from the county that would help show our progress. The recommendation for you as council is to adopt a resolution adopting the City of Gilroy Suicide Prevention Policy. The policy itself is included in your packet, but it mirrors exactly what I told you about the six components of it. And so with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you have, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you for bringing this before. It's a policy we certainly should have. Are there any questions of council before I go to public comment? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak on this issue?
None.
All right. We have no public comments, so it's back to council. Okay. Councilmember Bracco moves to approve, seconded by Councilmember Armendariz. I can't tell when we're supposed to do something with roll call or when we're supposed to use this. So.
Sometimes it doesn't.
This requires a roll call because it's a resolution.
Okay.
Sorry.
So it doesn't matter that we use the computer. Okay.
No, it doesn't, sadly.
Okay.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura Munoz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blinkley.
Yes. So that passes 6 with 1 absent. All right, item C, consideration of updating the City of Gilroy's flag flying policy. Staff report, Jimmy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. To give you a little bit of background, the current policy was adopted just a few months ago in 2021, and it addressed 3 types of flags that would be flown at city facilities: national state flags, city and sister cities flags, and then lastly, commemorative flags. Since that time, city council members and city staff have received numerous requests to fly additional flags, and such time back in July, it was requested of council initiate agenda item just to have a policy review and discuss perhaps some best practices going forward in administering these requests. The definition of a commemorative flag is one that identifies with a specific date, historical event, cause, nation, or group of people. And the current policy is that council must adopt a resolution to fly a commemorative flag. And the criteria is that it's consistent with the city's vision, mission, and ongoing strategic priorities. Council has not provided direction on city's participation or other activities relating to the raising of a commemorative flag, and that's why we're returning at this time. We did spend significant time looking at other entities, and those samples were included in your packet, and including neighboring Santa Clara County cities. And for national and state flags, those are pretty easy, pretty consistent. But for commemorative flags, each community's really taken its own approach on how they want to administer these. But the one thing they all had in common is that it did require council approval to fly a commemorative flag. Mountain View has an extremely robust policy document where they list the commemorative flags they will fly, and that is, and additional ones have to be added by a council resolution. But all other cities require resolutions for the flags to be raised. Some have an application process, some do not, so there is a kind of a hodgepodge way in which each city has made their administrative process. Only the city of Mount Petus has information regarding the city's direct and indirect contributions to a flag raising ceremony, and I do want to qualify the difference between a direct and an indirect. Is there are typically some direct costs associated with the flag ceremony or even raising the flag. There's the cost of the flag. There could be tables and chairs if you have a ceremony, other things like that. And then the indirect cost is essentially if you have a large gathering, you'll have police staff there, you'll have city staff there, custodial, things like that. So things that don't necessarily show up quantitatively but do incur either an opportunity cost or even a small financial cost. The 2 policies that we saw have some very unique elements is Mountain View, which lists pre-approved flags in their policy. They do that annually. And then Hollister requires 100 signatures of other community members to request a flag be raised. So there's basically a petition process that is required before you can take it to council. One of the items in the current policy that we have is that flag ceremonies are not clearly defined on cost involvement, and they're not included in the current policy. And the only example we have was the Pride flag raising ceremony, which was the first one we had done, and thus we didn't have a lot of experience, didn't know exactly what would be the cost involved, and so council had directed at that point that any ceremony was to be sponsored by a council member. In this case, it was Vice Mayor Tovar, and he either paid for his own funds or raised funds or did whatever. We really don't know how he paid for it, but through his efforts, the direct costs were covered, and then the indirect costs were absorbed by the city. And if that is something that council is comfortable doing going forward, then we would need that policy direction from council. Not all ceremonies will be the same. You may have 10 people at one, you may have 1,000 at another, so those costs could be significantly diverse or much greater depending on what the event is like. But it is something we as staff do want council to be aware of, and it certainly is a policy decision at that point for the council. Some of the changes that you could include that we saw from other policies is pre-authorize which commemorative flags will fly within the year. That way, council would really only have to take this subject up once a year. They could deliberate which flags would be flown, and then perhaps a flag must be sponsored by a council member to be flown. So they would handle the logistics of getting any coordination or any ceremony that they choose to host, I suppose. And then again, council selects from pre-authorized flags that will raise and have a ceremony sponsored by the city. So one time a year, council could really go through the finer details of such a policy. Some possible city-sponsored ceremony benefits. City could purchase the flag at city cost. That's actually preferable by city staff, so that way we can ensure some consistency in the size and such. And then identification of staff time for raising and lowering the flag, delivery and removal of city furniture and equipment, and then some ceremonial optional support, including podiums, seating for people. These are some of the things we saw in other policies. Social media, e-newsletter, advertisements. Some policies get very specific about the exact number of chairs, and others don't address that. So you have a little bit of the whole gamut going here, and again, it's a council policy discussion and decision to see what they prefer here. Hosting, requesting, organization requirements. These are some of the rules that we saw. They must invite all city council members and seat them in assigned dignitary seating. They must submit marketing material and conduct marketing in addition to the city's use of social media e-newsletters. Some have to have their marketing criteria and documents approved by council. And then consideration of cleaning up after the event, and then sometimes with a larger event, signing all required waivers and hold harmless agreements and provide acceptable insurance, much like a special event permit that we do for almost all activities in town. And then in providing food, especially during the COVID era, individually wrapped, and provide servers, cleanup crew, as well as utensils, tablecloth, etc. So as you can see, it can get quite specific depending on the entity. Our recommendation tonight, though, is that council provide some direction on updating the policy to establish levels of the city involvement for commemorative flags, which would include direct, indirect cost, the amount of support given by the city, and perhaps the administrative process in which flags are approved and considered. And then the next step would be, after receiving council direction tonight, we would return at a future meeting with the recommended revisions, and council could take a final look at it and provide any additional direction or revisions as they would see fit. I believe that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you at this time.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. So council, if you have questions specific of Jimmy's report, let's ask them now. Otherwise, I would like to go to public comment because people have been waiting a long time, if that's okay with council. Okay, so Christina, do we have public comments?
Yes, we have 5. First is Tracy Hill.
Okay, and you'll have 3 minutes to, yeah, there's, the timer's going.
The proposed flag policy that you currently have right now, the paragraph 1 says flagpoles are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression by the public. And then paragraph 2 says commemorative flag under this policy means a flag that identifies with a specific date, historical event, cause, nation, or group of people. I find that that is a contradiction in itself. I find it the council decided to have a flag policy after a commemorative flag was flown, and I feel like the policy should have been put in place ahead of time. That didn't give the public at all any time to make any comments about the decisions that you guys made without public comment. In your description of your city rule or your governing is supposed to be for the people, you were voted in by the people, and you're not taking the people's consideration in, and I just I find that is a little bit of abuse of power. Also, your policy also contains in paragraph 1, authorized by the city council. Paragraph 3 says only upon city council direction. Paragraph 4 says coordinated by the sponsoring council member. Paragraph 5, the city council may may by resolution direct city staff. It keeps saying city council, city council, city council. Again, your duty is to serve the public. I had sent 2 emails, June 4th and June 25th, to all of the board members, and nobody returned my email except for Mayor and for Carol Marquise, and she referred me over to Fred Tovar, and I got nothing back from that. Also, it was also brought to my attention that the police department wanted the blue line flag flown, and the police department had emailed Zach Hilton, and his opinion was, I don't have time for this, find someone else. So I think what I'm finding is that if it's up to the discretion of the council members to pick the flag, how do we know that your personal opinions or bias, or maybe a flag comes across your desk and you don't have time, so now it goes to another council member and they don't have time. And so I just feel that, oh, my time's up. Yikes. Sorry. I'll try to make it. Statement 4, you have 7 people on your city official sentiments. Not likely. This policy clearly indicates that a council person's personal bias, beliefs, opinions, perceptions will determine if a commemorative flag will be flown as a council person's sponsorship is required. Internal politics and threats of lawsuits were the most recent why the flag was flown earlier this year. Yet there was no input from the citizens of Gilroy who you work for. All the social narratives recently involved inclusivity, yet the policy will also allow for exclusivity and division.
Okay,
And
Tracy, I'm sorry. I
that's
have
okay.
to.
I know. I appreciate it, and I waited a long time, and I just feel like the council is not doing by the people. So I think I think we should only have the American flag and the California flag flying, because once you open Pandora's box of flags, any flag can go up there. And if there's somebody that is a communist and they want the sickle and the hammer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's what I need to
Thank
say.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other? Oh, yeah, you said there are 5.
Yes.
Right.
Next is Tom Larkin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm going to echo what the lady said, is that I think you guys have a tremendous responsibility and challenge ahead of you in making sure that everybody in this community is represented, as evidenced by what happened earlier this evening. Personally, I don't think that the City Hall should be used as a forum for political expression. I believe that it should only be the United States flag, and the state of California should be flown here. However, you guys made a decision to fly the LGBTQ community flag, which I'm all for supporting everybody in this community. But I don't think this was the right forum for it. Whether it was a rush to do so or not, that's not for me to say. But now that you've opened, as the young lady said, Pandora's box, I think you're opening yourselves up for some serious issues, because if you start revising this to not fly certain flags versus when you've already flown somebody else's flag for representing their community, you're now excluding and alienating people, and we all saw how that went tonight when people felt they weren't being represented. So I think that you guys really need to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Next we have Eric Howard.
Good evening again. You don't see me enough, so I figured I'd do it twice. I want to echo what they said, because I pretty much took everything out. I'm disappointed in you two, because you two are pretty sharp guys, and you guys are level-headed. The other two, I don't, they're written them off. But you two are disappointed because, I don't know. But you can't pick and choose. Here you are picking and choosing who's going to be up there. You'll get 20 flagpoles, put them at Christmas Hill Park, and let people put their own flags up. At City Hall, everyone's done that tonight. But City Hall, you have United States and California flag. But I'm glad to see that the city has so much money in their budget that they can do all these ceremonies for all these different organizations. But anyway, enough said.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Kim Sullivan.
Oh, there she is.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for having
Take the
me.
microphone, Kim. Yeah, thanks.
I think I have a lot of
Okay.
voice. I should be able to hear me. In regards to the flag policy, I am, like everybody else, the two people that has spoken, I am in favor of just the American flag as well as the state flag. I think it's important that we just fly those two flags and no other commemorative flags. I think, as both of my community members have spoken, is that it's going to open up, again, the Pandora box. And as we see, for example, today is having the pride flag that was flown. I noticed that, reading the policy, that there was some cost accrued with this. I'm not quite sure how much this cost the city, but I don't think the city's in financial stability to be able to put out money for having commemorative flags out there. If by chance that you want to have commemorative flags and you're going to approve commemorative flags, okay, so be it. We'll go with the policy. But I would like to have stricter guidelines on your policy that you're presenting, more so than what, Jimmy, you had presented today. I would like to, possibly be involved in that if there's any way, because I have some suggestions about, I think if for one would be if you're going to have commemorative flags, that the community members you have in there should be Gilroy community members involved. I think they have to be some part of registered voters possibly be included in that maybe, so to make sure they're voters of Gilroy, so we don't want somebody from San Jose to come in over here to sign the petition or the 100 residents or whatever you want to classify it as. And also possibly if they're not registered voters within the city of Gilroy, possibly could you see that maybe they're involved in somehow in the community? Are they giving back to the community somehow? Are they volunteering? Are they part of some type of organization so that you can show that their community involvement here to be participating in the commemorative flag? So I have other things. I don't want to waste the time because I know it's getting late. I'm tired as well. But I would like to say that I think that for the most part, we should stick with just the American flag and the state flag and no other commemorative flags. But if you're going to open up the Pandora box, for example, for myself, then I will be prepared to submit my 5 flags or whatever many flags that I would like to submit as well to be for consideration as well. I want to thank the staff for the time for the policy and city staff as well, because I know it took a lot of time. I appreciate it, and I thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
We have Ron Kirkish next.
Hello for a third time. I'm glad we're all back in this building again. The issue I have is, and I agree with all the previous talkers, that I believe strongly that only the American flag and the state flag should be flown at City Hall. It should be encompassing for all the whole city, not just for one single group or other single groups. Another issue that I have is the policy where a city council person is responsible for a citizen to approach and ask that. I don't think that's a good decision. There's got to be a better way to do it. And the example I'm going to use is Mr. Hilton, Councilman Hilton. When Mr. Larkin and Mrs. Sullivan sent you all an email, I got a copy of Zach's response. His response was, my staff and I are too busy writing legislation. You will have to go someplace else. Since when do you guys write legislation? He lied to these folks on purpose on 2 occasions, maybe 3 occasions. That's wrong. A city councilman should not be lying to their constituents. I wish he was here to hear that. But in any case, I would like to think that the city administrator or you guys can come up with a different mechanism for the people who wish to, a person or a group, or can go to maybe the city clerk, write out a form and give it to the administrator, and then you guys can bring it to you on an agenda to fly that flag. I think that would be easier for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that conclude public comment? Okay, that concludes public comment. Thank you all. All right, so moving on. it's time for council discussion and how we move forward. I know I certainly have some things to say. I don't necessarily need to go first. Councilmember Laromagnos, go ahead. Okay,
question.
and then Councilmember Bracco.
City Administrator, what is the rationale for having having a council member as a sponsor for a particular flag?
I can try. Yeah, I don't think there was one. I think really to some of the public comment point, we did kind of put the cart before the horse when we did this one, right? So this we didn't have the policy, and that's just kind of how it went in order to have a limited amount of city resources going into it. That's where that came. So I know that for myself, and I have council members waiting, but I know that for myself, I absolutely have some ideas of how to go forward on this, not the least of which begins with an application process that goes to the city. It doesn't go to a council member. It's on the website, and anybody who wants to apply for their particular flag goes through there. We decide what's on that application, what has to be included. City staff does the processing of the application, checks the signatures that are supporting it, brings it back to city council, handles all that. And then hopefully the cost is just limited to the purchase of the flag, raising it, lowering it, and making an announcement of when it is, and that everything else is left to whoever is doing it, so that this doesn't become that.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. That's helpful for me to hear, and hopefully for others as well as we contemplate what a process looks like.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of limiting staff's involvement to this to simply performing the function of kind of going out there on the first Monday of the month, raising the flag, and then lowering it on the last day of the month. And then members of the community, whether it's 10, 20, however many it is, who want to show up and do their own thing as a result of that flag being raised, they're welcome to do so, but city's involvement would be limited to just raising and lowering the flag.
Agreed. Okay.
Mayor, can I respond?
Except that we have a queue. Okay. Can I go? Yeah, can we go with the queue? So Councilmember Bracco, go ahead.
Yes. I kind of like the part of the Hollister one where you had to get the 100 signatures. Mm-hmm. That way, the citizen that's asking has got to put a little skin in the game and go out and
Agreed.
do a little work. And I don't believe our city should be putting any money into this. I believe we should buy the flag just to keep them all the same. If you want to use the senior center, you got to pay for it. If you want to use Christmas Hill, you got to pay for it. You don't get chairs and tables and a podium. If it's important to folks, they'll do that. But I don't believe that you should have to have a ceremony. If you request a flag that goes up, that you don't want to pay to have a ceremony, then you shouldn't have to. Right. And I think we should do it once a year. We can have a period when people can turn in requests, and then we'll evaluate them and we'll make our decision, and that's it. And we redo that every year.
Agreed.
So that's what my suggestion would be. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Armendariz.
Sure. I think to the first point on the first flag raising, I proposed that temporary policy because it was important to have somebody who will drive the event, right? Somebody who will be in charge of, and in that case it was Vice Mayor Tovar, and we needed somebody to make it happen, right, and to assist staff and to represent us as a council and as a city in so doing that. And so I would support still having a council member sponsored policy, but a hybrid of what Councilmember Laromagnos is saying, so that there's an application process, or you can be sponsored by a council member. I looked at what Hollister has in terms of 100 signatures, and I think about in times of COVID, we still want to have flag raising, we still want to have commemorations because of how they unify our community, because of how they can represent the folks and the interests and the causes, right, and the nations and such in our community. But like I said, in times of COVID, how would we ask folks to go and meet with 100 persons to get signatures? How would we ask folks who aren't able but still have a worthy cause to go and find 100 people, right? I think it would post an undue burden on our citizens. But I like the idea of folks putting skin in the game. And so if we had a standard amount of money and resources that can be expended on the same on all of the approved flags, I would like that. And anything above and beyond that, then that has to be fundraised by the council person or the community folks or organization who are applying for it. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. And I won't try to repeat what was said by my colleagues, but I agree with Councilmember Armendariz and the Romualdez are saying.
I know, you're mumbling.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it's masked. But again, just for point of clarification, when we did the pride-raising flag, the direct cost came out of my pocket, so there was no cost to the city, and that's why I decided to sponsor that event, because I didn't wanted to limit any cost from the city. So I'm still in agreement that we should have a sponsoring council member and allow that individual to go out, raise the money, whatever they need to do to sort of continue sort of to pay for the cost of these events. So I just want to make sure that was clear. I know it's in the staff report, but I'm hearing other comments. So, but again, I would be in support of still having a supporting council member for any future flag raising.
Okay, Councilmember Marks.
There are two things. I'm not really in favor of having a council member sponsor because I think it's just a lot of work on the council member. I think whoever wants to fly the flag has to apply. I don't think it's an undue burden to go out and get 100 signatures. I don't know too many people who are sheltering in place at home. They can wear a mask, they go to parties, they go everywhere they want. It's kind of a pick and choose of what they want to do. Now, I'm going to throw something out to all of you. You know, we voted on flying the pride flag, and that was before we're having this new policy. Do we need to discuss whether we want to fly any more commemorative flags, or just keep it to the United States flag and the California flag? I don't know. It's up to you people to see what you want, but it's kind of like we're playing a new game right now. And
Us people.
Well, you people, us people. That's not correct.
Okay, are you?
But I'm saying you're part of our council too.
Well, no, I know that, but that's just not grammatically correct. You know, that's it, us people. But the council needs to decide. That's better. The council needs to decide. You know what they want to do.
Okay, I'm going to try to take things one at a time because I don't know how else to do this because there are so many things and staff needs direction.
Oh,
so for one at a time, no, you can't. There's too much. I would like to do it this way if you don't mind. Okay. What I am not under the impression that the 4 members of the council who voted to fly commemorative flags are now 3 months later or 4 months later changing their mind. Am I correct on that? Yeah, I know one isn't here, but so our starting point has to be commemorative flags, okay? That was a 4-3 vote. That's been done. That's not what we're trying to alter here, despite the way this went down, okay? That could come up at some point. If that's another future agenda item, though. That's not this. Okay, so talking then about the policy, one at a time. So here's what I'm going to do, and it's going to be thumbs up as to whether or not you think this should be part of what staff does, and then anyone else can add to that, just like we did with the homeless ad hoc committee and stuff, based on the thumbs up to add. So firstly, would we direct staff that this be a once-a-year application process? Thumbs up if that's what you support. Okay, so Jimmy, we've got that much. Okay, it's a once-a-year process. Do we support that it be an application accompanied with signatures? Okay, so that I see everybody accept. Okay, so that's a majority. So now on that majority, Hollister is 100 signatures. I actually propose, since we are 50% larger than Hollister, I think the signatures should be 150 for Gilroy. So 150 signatures, and that they be what? Gilroy residents, registered voters. Everybody has to be an adult. We can't have minors signing this. So what would you say? Gilroy resident. Gilroy resident, age 18 years or older.
How do we verify that?
Well, that'll be for the city clerk to do, the same way they have to verify anything. I don't know how Hollister verifies theirs.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, they don't, Hollister's doesn't say residents or voters or 18
Okay,
and over.
well, that's what
It's
we're
more
saying.
open.
Minus you, right? Okay,
Right.
because you're not supporting this. Okay, so 150 signatures of Gilroy residents who are 18 years of age or older. So they have to put down their address, and that's what has to be verified, however staff decides to do that. Okay, next. On the regarding the application itself, would it, is there support to say that city staff time should be limited to processing the application, purchasing the flag, announcing the flag raising, and raising and lowering the flag? Is there support for that? Okay, I see Peter, I see me. Okay, so there's 4. Oh, there's 5 for that. Really, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay. She's supporting. Okay. So, what? Okay. Sorry.
That's where we're going, right?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, so it's 5. Okay, so that, we have that. So that's what it's limited to. Okay, limited to that. And then anything else would be for, I guess, staff. So that's what the council's direction is. That would be for staff to then, you bring back if there's something we're missing, something else that needs to be there, whatever waivers, all that kind of stuff that, needs to go in.
But do you still want to have a council person have to?
I don't think so.
Well, do we have to vote on that?
Well, I didn't ask for that to be in here. So if somebody else wants to suggest
question.
that, that's for them to suggest.
2 questions.
Okay.
Do you separate staff time from city resources? So the tables and chairs?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's city cost. That means someone from city staff has to go putting them out.
Mhm.
And the most meaningful ceremonies are the ones that are the simplest. They just are. They are.
Opinion, feeling.
Yeah.
So then I would ask that we include what is here in the memo. So seating, public address system, and podium.
Okay, so that's, I'm not supporting that. So
That's what I think is like, we talked about staff time?
She's thinking that it's not staff putting the
separate,
chairs
because
out and
it's-
putting out the podium, but it's staff
No,
putting them out.
I understand what staff's doing, but if an organization has access to the tables and chairs and the podium and the sound system, which I think is like a very basic thing that we can provide as a council to the folks in our community who are supporting this, then I think we should, and I think it's a minimum cost.
Okay, so that's what she is suggesting, so I'm going to be no on that. Carol and Peter. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 no's on that. Okay? Yes, Dion.
I would like us to say too that this starts the next year, so
Right.
that we don't get anything rushed through and
No, but we
end up
do
with
have,
this mess.
we do have some flag requests that have already come in since the May thing. So those ones need, if that person people who submitted those wants to still submit them, those need to, they need to come first because and that we maintain the 1 flag at a time. Is that okay with that? Okay, and that it still be only 1 flag at a time. We don't do multiple flags at the same time. And so those would have to come first because they've already been submitted. So they'd be first. Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're just all, freaking out that this is going to be 25 requests.
Well, but if I may add, just each one that would come forward now would be sort of on an ad hoc basis, and whatever conditions you decided were appropriate, you could decide before we have the policy that applies next year.
I don't understand what you
So
mean.
we're
Well, what I'm saying is
So
that
it wouldn't
if
start in
there are
January.
applications that come forward before the policy is officially revised, they still have to be approved by the council.
Correct,
And whatever
right.
conditions you want in terms of staff time.
Yeah,
or
I'm just-
ceremony, whatever can be added.
Yeah, I'm just saying if a whole bunch were to come in, I don't know, that the ones that we've already received, if we've already received one that asked for the month of April, is what I'm saying, then that's the one that gets the month of, if the council approves it, that's all I'm trying to say.
So we
I don't
still have
need
to,
even-
we approve them in January.
We approve them
or
whenever
once this
Jimmy
comes
brings
out.
Once a year.
And then it
Jimmy's gonna-
starts in January.
Jimmy's going to do it. That way, we're not addressing these things as they come up throughout the year.
So, Madam Mayor, I would just simply suggest that we hold in abeyance any applications until we formalize this process.
Agreed. I guess all I was trying to point out is that there are some who have already asked for particular months.
Understood, and
so
we can
they-
consider those as
Right.
when the process is.
Right, okay. So Jimmy, no. Oh, we can't. Okay, I wish I could address that, but the fact of the matter is this council already voted, and that's how they voted. It was 4-3, and that you'll have to wait for the next election. Okay, so anything else you need, Jimmy? No. Okay, guys, thank you. I think that really does help the process, all of it.
Good.
Okay. So we move on to city administrators' reports.
No report this evening, Madam Mayor.
All right, city attorney?
I'm not going to give a major report, but I do want to mention a couple of things because there's a lot of interesting legislation. We're going to give you a wrap-up on that at future meetings, but I'm sure you've all heard about the housing legislation that's come out. It's been front-page news.
Mm-hmm.
So there's SB 8, 9, and 10. And SB 8 makes some changes to the Housing Accountability Act and approvals. SB 9 is the interesting one we'll have to talk about. That essentially allows, with some exceptions, people with single-family lots to split them in two if they're big enough, and the city can regulate that to some degree. But if they are big enough, you can't prevent the split, and then an approval of a project on those lots, separate houses, is ministerial. So that's one that has gotten a lot of press, and it's one that we'll have to think about seriously how to implement. And then SB 10, which may or may not be applicable, allows the city to allow higher density near transit stops without CEQA, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's something, however, unlike the others, it's not something anyone forces on us. That's something we would decide to do if we do. So we'll give you a fuller presentation on that because that's very complicated stuff, and if you try to read them, you'll go crazy. So
I know,
don't recommend you do that.
And the SB 10, though, it is within our purview, but isn't that for high-quality transit areas
Yes.
and high employment areas?
Yeah,
Which
right,
neither
it
of which is.
And we may not have any
Right,
that qualify because it's transit or
exactly.
high-density bus routes can qualify, so we'd have to look at that. And
Right.
it may or may not even be applicable to Gilroy. The other issue is virtual meetings. And AB 361, you'll recall that we were having virtual meetings under a governor's order that expires September 30th. That's not a problem for council because we're back here. The new law that was passed, though, is very strange, and it allows virtual meetings to continue, but you have to declare a state of emergency and redeclare it every 30 days if you want to do that. As I said, it doesn't seem to apply to the council because we're not doing it. However, we have to think about if it applies to the Planning Commission, for example, if they want to continue to meet virtually. It's a very peculiar piece of legislation that makes very little sense, but we will work with staff to figure out if there are any city boards or commissions that still want to meet virtually, and they may not be able to, may be the answer. Or we may have to keep declaring states of emergency, which seems kind of odd. Particularly,
Now, would that affect us, though?
well, we would have to, as a council, declare a state of emergency such that it's unsafe to have in-person meetings for the Planning Commission, but the council's having them. So that's a little odd.
Right.
You have to admit some. Anyway.
I had talked to Jimmy earlier because I was thinking that before I spoke to my doctor that I might have to go into quarantine, but I didn't, thank goodness. And so I was worried about, as those situations continue to arise, how are we going to address that, right? If
That
if I had
actually is
needed to
addressed
go,
in the new legislation.
Okay.
And you may recall, in the Brown Act, before all this happened, allowed people to actually call in from somewhere else.
Right.
People could call in on vacation, for example, and we had people call in from across the country, and their hotel rooms had to be open, and with the agenda posted.
Posted on the
Very
door.
peculiar,
Yeah.
yeah. But this new bill does allow teleconferencing specifically, kind of under those rules, so that if a council member needed to be at home, as long as it's not a majority, we could do that. So actually, there's a way to do exactly what you're
without
talking
declaring a state of emergency.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
There's a way to
Good to know.
accommodate an individual council member that needs the accommodation, and we can work on that.
Good.
And does that need to be known in advance, though, so that it can be
Yes.
noticed and all
Yes,
that
it's the
stuff? So
same
you
thing that
can't,
we used
yeah,
to
you
do.
can't just
Still
be
has to
sick the day
noticed
before.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we could add it to the agenda at the end, too, but, you
Okay.
know, as an emergency item somehow if we had to. We could work with that, I'm sure,
Okay.
if it comes up. Okay, that concludes my report.
I would like to add something to Andy's statement. Unfortunately, as you've seen from our equipment, we don't have teleconferencing ability. But as soon as we get the chip shortage figured out, we'll be able to do it. So one day.
Well, we could even use a speakerphone. We could do a primitive, the old way of.
CB radios?
No, it doesn't have to be video. The teleconferencing can be audio, video, or both. So we could, in worst case, you know, use the old speakerphones if we had to.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay? Does that conclude? And it concludes our meeting, right? No, no, I know it says that on there, but there's none. We have no closed session tonight. Adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Stomach cramps and